Chapter 768. Tan Xiu was very confident. In his view, a living vampire was definitely more attractive to Gui Jianqiu than a beastman's severed arm. Sure enough. After Gui Jianqiu's breathing turned heavy, he replied almost without hesitation, "Tell me the location and I'll rush there immediately." "Tan Xiu, if what you said is true, I'll join your research. Shanghai's Paradise Manor. I'll be waiting for you here," said Tan Xiu with a smile. As soon as the call was hung up, a trace of lingering fear appeared on Shangjena's beautiful face. She pulled a long face and said, "Mr. Tang, why did you invite someone again? He won't be like that old man Mo, drawing my blood every day, will he?" "That's hard to say," said Tan Xiu with a smile. Upon hearing it, Shangjena immediately raised her tone and loudly said, "I refuse. I don't want to be the first vampire in history to have my blood drawn to death. Vampires suck the blood of others. If she were to become the first vampire in history to have her blood drawn to death, it would probably cause a stir in the entire Bloodkin clan. She would even be recorded in the shameful history of the Bloodkin clan and go down in history. Of course, this name wouldn't be pleasant to hear. Don't worry about it." Tan Xiu waved his hand. "That's right, it's getting late. How about you go back and rest now? You can also take the medicinal pill I gave you and try its effect." Shangjena stared blankly for a moment before she immediately nodded and said, "Yeah, that's right. I'll go rest first." After that, her footsteps flashed and she disappeared from the room in an instant. Moe came over and asked with a worried face, "Tan Xiu, the medicinal pill you gave Shangjena is very effective, isn't it? It'll be very troublesome if she's not satisfied and wants to quit. All of our previous efforts will be in vain." "Don't worry." Tan Xiu confidently smiled. "I guarantee that she won't quit." Moe nodded with relief. After hesitating for a while, he curiously asked, "Can you tell me in advance about the origin of this Chinese medicine practitioner you invited? Can he cooperate with me in the experiment?" "Divine Doctor, Gui Jianqiu." Tan Xiu slowly uttered a few words. Moe was stunned and his complexion drastically changed in an instant. Shock was revealed in his eyes as he said with a trembling voice, You can actually invite Divine Doctor Gui Jianqiu? Oh my God. I've heard a lot about that miracle-working doctor in the field of traditional Chinese medicine. His name is like thunder to my ears." Tan Xiu said, "Keep calm. A divine doctor is also a human being. I hope his arrival will be of some help to you, and I hope that you can research what I need as soon as possible." "Don't worry." Moe heavily nodded. "As long as the medicinal herbs can replace what I need, I will definitely be able to research what you want in the shortest time possible." "All right." Tan Xiu nodded. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. In a Western-style building deep in Paradise Manor, on the bed in the spacious bedroom, Han Qingwu's eyelashes fluttered a few times, and her eyes slowly opened. As her eyesight was restored, 2 lines of tears rolled down from the corner of her eyes. The sparkling tears in her eyes couldn't conceal the intertwined feelings of pain and regret. Vaguely, the unforgettable love was also flowing in the deepest part of her heart. Soul-reviving grass. Han Qingwu gently sat up. Through the blurry tears, the name of a medicinal herb emerged in her mind. If it was in the past, she would have firmly believed that it was absolutely necessary to take the soul-reviving grass. But now, she began to hate the soul-reviving grass. If she could, she would never want to take it again. The debt of the past life must be paid in this life. Her heart was in too much pain, and she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold on until the debt was paid off. Han Qingwu put on her clothes and quietly walked out of the room. Looking at the bright sunshine outside, she faintly sighed inwardly. She slowly walked to the woods outside and quietly sat cross-legged. The injuries inside her body were still there, but it wasn't a big problem for the current her. She had recovered the memories of her past life, and all kinds of mental state perception were no longer comparable to before. As long as she wanted to, her injuries could be healed in just a few days. However, she didn't choose to heal her injuries, because she didn't dare to recognize Tan Xiu. She didn't dare to let Tan Xiu know that she had recovered her memories. Therefore, she was still Han Qinggu, the teacher in charge of Tan Xiu, Han Qinggu. Huh? You're awake. Not knowing how long had passed, Ouyang Lulu appeared on the forest trail. Seeing Han Qinggu sitting cross-legged on a big blue stone, Ouyang Lulu looked surprised and quickly greeted her. Han Qinggu opened her eyes, as though she got to know Ouyang Lulu again. She carefully observed her for a while and then slowly said, "I'm sorry. I've brought trouble to you." Ouyang Lulu had always been fearless, and no one could give her pressure. But when Han Qinggu sized her up just now, she suddenly felt a chill run down her spine, and she felt uncomfortable all over. She felt that the awakened Han Qinggu was like a different person, especially her eyes, as though she could see through her. What's wrong with you?" Ouyang Lulu resisted the urge to turn around and run away as she braced herself and asked. Han Qinggu stared blankly for a moment before her expression slightly changed. When her left hand brushed the long hair in front of her forehead, her eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything gradually faded away, and the special temperament she exuded also changed. She seemed to have returned to the former Han Qinggu as she shook her head and said, "I'm fine, but I'm injured and feel very uncomfortable." "Lulu, were you the one who saved me after I fell into cultivation deviation?" Ouyang Lulu's heart lightened. She could sense that Han Qinggu's eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything had disappeared. She instantly felt that the feeling just now was an illusion. Looking at Han Qinggu suspiciously, Ouyang Lulu said, "I don't have such a great ability. It was Tan Xiu who came back from Jingmen Island thousands of miles away. I don't know what method he used to save you." "That's right, you've been sleeping for 7 or 8 days. Are you hungry now? Do you want me to order someone to cook a meal for you?" Han Qinggu touched her belly and nodded, "Then I'll have to trouble you. I really feel hungry." Ouyang Lulu snappily rolled her eyes at her and said, "It'd be strange if you don't feel hungry. Which normal person can persist without eating and drinking for 7 or 8 days? Alright, you're still injured, so go back to your room and rest. I'll order someone to send the meal." "Thank you," Han Qinggu said gratefully. A few minutes later. After receiving Ouyang Lulu's call, Tan Xiu hurried to the woods. When he saw Han Qinggu sitting cross-legged on the big blue stone, his brows deeply furrowed. He strode toward her and scrutinized her face a few times before saying, "You're awake." "Yeah, thank you. I heard it from Lulu." Han Qinggu chuckled. "No need to thank me." Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "I just don't want you to die so early. Can you tell me what kind of situation caused your inner demon to breed and cause you to suffer from cultivation deviation? Also, after you woke up from your coma, did you remember anything else?" "What do you mean?" Han Qinggu asked with a puzzled expression. "You didn't remember anything?" Tan Xiu frowned. "Like those scenes that appeared in your mind?" "No." Han Qinggu shook her head. "I just feel that I'm injured inside, and the injury is quite serious. It's impossible for me to recover in a short time. Tan Xiu, is there something wrong with my cultivation? How come I can't control my true essence when I'm cultivating? Even opening up a meridian outside of the cultivation route?" Tan Xiu looked at her deeply and shook his head, "I don't know." "Alright, since you're awake, then there's nothing for me to do. You can do as you please. I still have something to do later." Han Qinggu quietly watched Tan Xiu's back as he left. The deep love in her heart was more intense than the bright sunshine. She originally thought that it would be impossible for her to meet Tan Xiu again in this lifetime. She didn't expect that she would be reborn and that Tan Xiu was still alive. "Don't worry. I'll only live for you in the future." Han Qinggu's lips squirmed a few times as she whispered in a voice that only she could hear. Tan Xiu had something to do and was about to leave the Paradise Club a few minutes ago. It was Ouyang Lulu who called him over. He didn't get the answer he wanted. Although he was a bit disappointed, he still put this worry to the back of his mind and prepared to face the next matter. The date to explore the 3-star vestige in the Strait of Malacca was getting closer and closer. The ability users sent by the country had also arrived in Shanghai one after another. After learning about it, Tan Xiu found out that the number of people representing China to participate in the exploration of the 3-star vestige was a total of 5. Aside from the captain leading the team, the other 3 had arrived. Old Street in the neighboring corner. In a relatively remote residential area in Shanghai's Jingning district, there was an old alley with a very high reputation. The reason why the paper slip alley was famous was because of a restaurant and a pot of old wine. As the saying goes, good wine needs no dark alley. The Feng restaurant had existed for decades. Although the owner had changed once, the times had changed, and the living standards had improved, it still existed. Moreover, it was still a good restaurant in the eyes of many people. Welcome. At the entrance of the restaurant, an enthusiastic young man greeted him. Tang Xiu nodded in response. After entering the Feng family's restaurant, he instantly released his spiritual sense and instantly found the person he was looking for in the corner of the window, a middle-aged man with a full beard and messy hair, who was not much better looking than a chicken coop, was tasting fine wine and eating meat and vegetable dishes. Zhu Long. Tan Xiu could vaguely feel that the middle-aged man was extraordinary, so he stepped forward and asked. Zhu Long looked up and casually glanced at Tan Xiu. Then, he indifferently said, "Drink first since you're already here. The others will arrive later. I've become the captain of our squad this time, so I hope you can strictly follow my orders in the future." No problem. Although Tan Xiu didn't know how the higher-ups arranged it, he just wanted some peace and quiet since Zhu Long wanted to lead the team. Moreover, he was ready to separate from the team if the 3-star vestige was not too dangerous. He would search for treasures on his own and carry out an in-depth exploration. Chapter 769. Zhu Long didn't know Tan Xiu's origin, nor did he know why Tan Xiu could get permission from his immediate superior to participate in the highly confidential exploration mission of the 3-star vestige. He quietly observed Tan Xiu while drinking the wine. What made him dissatisfied was that he couldn't see anything special about Tan Xiu. "Tan Xiu, may I ask you a question?" Tan Xiu said, "Feel free to ask me anything. I won't hide anything as long as it's convenient for me to answer. We're going to form a team and I'm the captain, so I must know each member's superpower so that I can control the overall situation when we explore the vestige," said Zhu Long. "Do you need to tell me what kind of superpower you have?" Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and said, "My strength is stronger and my speed is faster. In short, it's very complicated. In fact, there's something I need to clarify with you. I'll listen to your command before entering the 3-star vestige, but I'll leave the team after entering and won't be a burden to you." Nonsense. Zhu Long slapped the table and angrily shouted, "The dangers inside the 3-star vestige are definitely beyond your imagination. Don't try to be a hero since you want to join my team. Either you follow the team or you give up now." Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and pondered for a moment. Then, he took out his mobile and dialed a number. At the same time, he turned on the loudspeaker and spoke after the call was connected. "Senior Duanmu? Tan Xiu, have you seen Zhu Long?" Duanmu Lin's laughing voice came from the phone. "Yeah, I have," said Tan Xiu. "You need to clarify something with him." "What is it?" asked Duanmu Lin. "After entering the 3-star vestige, I need to leave the team and explore the vestige by myself," said Tan Xiu. "But he doesn't agree, so tell him." Zhu Long's eyes were filled with ridicule. He knew his immediate superior's temper better than anyone else. It would be strange if Duanmu Lin agreed to such a ridiculous request. Duanmu Lin might immediately revoke Tan Xiu's qualification to enter the vestige with the team. "Give Zhu Long the phone." Duanmu Lin's voice sounded. Tan Xiu put the phone on the table, pushed it forward and said, "Senior Duanmu wants to talk to you." "Tell him." Zhu Long sneered and said, Boss Duanmu, if you want to disqualify Tan Xiu, then let Xiao Bing join. She has been preparing for this ruin exploration mission for a long time. Duanmu Lin's voice rang out, who said I wanted to disqualify Tan Xiu? Zhu Long, since he wants to leave the team after entering the ruins, just agree. What? Zhu Long's voice suddenly rose several octaves, his eyes bursting with disbelief. He wondered if he was hallucinating. How could his immediate superior give such an answer? Was he crazy? Didn't you hear it clearly? Asked Duanmu Lin solemnly. Do you need me to repeat it to you? Zhu Long gulped down a mouthful of saliva and looked up deeply at Tan Xiu. Only then did he say with a wry smile, all right. I won't stop you since it's your decision. However, once he leaves the team, it has nothing to do with us if he encounters any danger in the 3-star vestige. All right. Duanmu Lin replied and directly hung up the call. Zhu Long took a deep breath and pushed the phone back to Tan Xiu, saying in a deep voice, I don't know why my immediate superior agreed to such an absurd request of yours, but I'll say the ugly words first. If you encounter any danger in the vestige, it has nothing to do with us. Whether you can come out alive or not depends on your own luck. I'm well aware of that. Tan Xiu put away the phone and replied indifferently. Zhu Long looked at Tan Xiu's indifferent expression and disgust rose inside. In his view, Tan Xiu was arrogant and reckless. He was very annoyed because Tan Xiu occupied a spot. The original 5-man team would be reduced to 4 people after entering the vestige. In case they encountered explorers from other countries in the vestige, they would have less strength to fight. Shit stirrer. Zhu Long suppressed his emotions and finally gave Tan Xiu such an evaluation. Tan Xiu got up and lightly asked, what's the specific time to go to the 3-star vestige? 3 days later. Zhu Long didn't want to look at Tan Xiu again and lowered his head to drink his wine. Let's meet again 3 days later, then. You have my contact number, so just send me the rendezvous point before you set off. With that said, Tan Xiu turned and walked outside. He could clearly see Zhu Long's contempt and anger toward him, so he didn't want to stay here and be snubbed. Bastard! Zhu Long looked at Tan Xiu's back disappearing outside the door and slammed his fist on the table. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with Duanmu Lin. Why did he put this shit-stirring stick into their team? Half an hour later. A young man with dyed red hair and strange attire stepped into the shop while carrying a birdcage. When he looked around and saw Zhu Long drinking by the window with a gloomy face, a smile immediately appeared on his face. After sitting opposite him, he whistled and smilingly said, Boss Zhu Long, aren't big shots like you usually the last to appear? Why did you come so early? Zhu Long raised his eyelids and coldly snorted. To see a reckless and arrogant bastard. The red-haired youth's expression shifted and he asked, as far as I know, there's another person who was stuffed into the 3-star vestige exploration mission besides you, me, Aquababe, and Electrolady. Could it be that the reckless and arrogant bastard you mentioned is the other team member? That's him. Zhu Long nodded. The red-haired youth's interest was piqued and he sighed. You've always had a good temper, Boss Zhu Long, but that brat actually made you so angry. That piqued my interest. Tell me, what's that brat's origin? What abilities does he have? Who knows which rock that brat jumped out from? Zhu Long angrily retorted. His ability, it's just that he's a bit stronger and faster. What kind of bullshit superpower is that? The red-haired youth looked disappointed and shook his head. That's really boring. Which one of us isn't very strong and fast? Did old man Duanmu's brain go haywire? Why did he stuff such a guy into the team? Doesn't he know that exploring the 3-star vestige is like stepping on a steel wire rope? A slight carelessness and you'll be smashed to pieces without even leaving a corpse behind? Boss Duanmu said that he agreed to let that brat go with us into the 3-star vestige, but he'll separate himself from our team and move freely. What? The red-haired youth abruptly got up and exclaimed in disbelief. Zhu Long shook his head and gulped down the wine in the bowl. The red-haired youth looked at Zhu Long's angry expression and murmured, "Is that guy very strong? Or is Boss Duanmu under some pressure? What kind of place is this 3-star vestige? It's a dangerous place full of death traps. Does that guy think it's his back garden?" At Paradise Manor, Shanjena was sitting cross-legged on her bed with her aura constantly rising. She had taken a medicinal pill, and there were still 2 left in the porcelain bottle given to her by Tan Xiu. But just 1 pill was enough to let her clearly feel the strength of her physique strengthening at an extremely fast rate, and the strength she possessed had greatly increased. Most importantly, this improvement speed had yet to end. Puff! The clothes on her back were suddenly torn by a pair of wings that suddenly unfolded. The black wings were shiny and glossy, and the hazy blood energy exuded a lustrous luster. As time went by, the pair of wings enlarged a bit and 2 blood-colored runes slowly emerged on it. Did I break through? Shanjena's eyes instantly opened with a look of ecstasy. She was just a baron before she met Tan Xiu. But at this moment, she did not break through to the Viscount realm, but the Count realm. A count. Her elder brother was hailed as the most outstanding genius in the family in the past millennium, yet he was only a count now. It was because the family had opened the blood pond inheritance in order to cultivate him. But what about her? 2 medicinal pills made her break through to the Count realm. If her clansmen were to know about this, wouldn't their eyeballs explode all over the place? The mysterious Eastern ancient country and the mysterious Eastern cultivators. If I can get a lot of medicinal pills and bring them back to the family, it won't take long for my family to become the most powerful family among the blood kin, right? Shanjena flapped her wings with a dreamy look on her beautiful face. Recently, Moe had extracted a lot of her blood. Although it was slightly harmful to her, it was simply negligible compared to the benefits she obtained. I can't leave so easily. I can promise Mr. Tang even if he has more excessive requests. Account. If I get more medicinal pills with better effects, will I be able to break through to the Marquis realm in a short time? A few minutes later, Shanjena appeared in Moe's lab like a gust of wind. She watched Moe and Gui Jianqiu studying her blood. She didn't even want to retract her wings and immediately sprinted to Moe's side. She stretched out her arm and heroically said, "Professor Mo, you can continue if the blood I extracted today is not enough. Besides, I've decided that I'll try my best to cooperate with you no matter how much blood you need from me in the future." Huh? Moe was dumbfounded. He looked at Shanjena, whose attitude had changed drastically and was at a loss for words for a while. Gui Jianqiu also wore a strange expression. He had seen Shanjena cursing him and Moe when her blood was being extracted. How did it change? Gui Jianqiu turned his head and glanced at Moe. A smile immediately appeared on his old face as he said, "Did something good happen to you, Shanjena? Why didn't you scold me and Professor Mo today?" Cough. Shanjena was a bit embarrassed as her thoughts were seen through. But in order to get Tan Xiu's approval and get more medicinal pills, she thickened her face and said, "I suddenly figured it out. It's worth it to sacrifice myself for the sake of science." Chapter 770. When Tan Xiu returned to the Blue Star Villa complex that he had not lived in for a long time, he received a call from Zhu Long informing him to gather on Jingmen Island 3 days later. Tan Xiu didn't care about the indifference in Zhu Long's tone. In his opinion, Zhu Long was just arrogant and had a big temper. Recently, he had very little time to cultivate. Although he would take out a few hours to cultivate every day, his progress was too slow. The tens of thousands of celestial bodies in his dantian were like babies crying piteously for food. Only by seizing the time to cultivate could he feed them and quickly turn them into real celestial bodies. Each of them contained huge energy. However, the only thing he felt gratified about was that there were still a lot of magic stones in his interspatial ring. As long as he absorbed all the magic power contained in those magic stones, the first celestial body should be completely formed and become a real energy celestial body. In addition, although medicinal pills didn't have much effect on him, it was at least better than nothing. As long as he had enough resources, he could refine a lot of medicinal pills. The increase in physical strength should have reached a bottleneck. If I want to improve it again, I should need a higher level of body refining liquid. Blood seizing pill is very suitable, but the materials needed to refine it are very demanding, almost reaching the limit of the top materials on Earth. Medicinal herbs are easy to deal with. I got a huge amount of medicinal herbs from the mountain on Mist Source Island, and I also have 1 or 2 kinds of ores that can replace the raw materials. But the fierce beast bones. The bones of low-level fierce beasts won't have any effect. Unless I have a lot of mid-level fierce beast bones and extract the essence from them, there is no way to refine blood-seizing pill. But there are indeed high-level fierce beasts on Earth, such as the terrifying fierce beast on the island in the Evil Dragon Sea area, or the living fire Qilin in the sky crater in the mountains near Tsangbei Green Mountain. With my current strength, wanting to kill fierce beasts of this level is simply a pipe dream. Ji Qimei and Gu Yan could do it, but if they were to go all out, they would definitely trigger the suppression from the heavenly Tao of this world. It was very likely that they would be severely injured or even expelled from this space. Therefore, it's not appropriate to count on them. Tan Xiu sat quietly by the window, looking at the new green scene outside, countless thoughts churning in his mind. Turning all the planets in the Dantian world into energy planets in the true sense was not something that could be done overnight. However, as long as he had enough resources, he could easily improve his physique and cultivate the heavenly art of cosmic genesis to a higher realm. If it's in the immortal world, I can easily buy all the cultivation resources I need even if I throw money at it. With a hint of regret, Tan Xiu took out a demon's stone and started cultivating. Recently, he increasingly felt that his strength was not enough because of the things he encountered. Whether it was the Stygian Club's divergent creatures, the Pyramid's ability users, or the savage mammoth's genetic mutants, many of them were very powerful. Even though he was very strong now, there were still places where he was inferior to them. If there were too many of such powerful characters besieging him, he might still die in their hands even if he had endless means at his disposal. The most important thing was that he was about to enter the 3-star vestige to explore the good stuff inside. Of course, the more he harvested, the higher the risk factor he would encounter. He didn't dare to underestimate the power of science and technology at present, because the terrifying power of science and technology could still crush him to pieces if it were to target him. Strength was king. He was eager to have more powerful strength. Only by becoming stronger could he get more good stuff. For example, solving the crisis in Mist Source Island. He got a huge amount of jades alone, plus all kinds of resources in the central mountain. It was absolutely a bountiful harvest. Early the next morning, after Tan Xiu finished his cultivation, he washed up and came to the living room on the first floor. He saw the housekeeper, Zhang Xinlan, cleaning the house. The smell of food wafting from the kitchen made Tan Xiu's spirit shake. "Shall we have breakfast now, Mr. Tang?" asked Zhang Xinlan. "Let's eat," Tan Xiu said with a smile. Zhang Xinlan put down the rag in her hand and was about to go to the kitchen. Suddenly, she seemed to recall something and said, "Mr. Tang, a friend of yours came a few days ago and said he had an urgent matter to discuss with you. I couldn't contact you since you weren't here, so he left." "Which friend?" asked Tan Xiu. "He said his name is Long Jinglin. He's quite tall and shaved his head," said Zhang Xinlan. Tan Xiu raised his brows and nodded. He watched Zhang Xinlan go to the kitchen and took out his mobile phone to dial Long Jinglin's number. "Hello, Big Bro Tang." Long Jinglin's weak voice came out of the phone. "What's wrong with your mood?" Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Did you indulge yourself too much last night? You haven't fully recovered yet?" Long Jinglin yawned and snorted. "This brother has been abstinent for a long time, all right? But have you been indulging in debauchery every night and indulging in women and wine every day? I had an urgent matter to discuss with you a few days ago. I wanted to ask you for help, but I couldn't contact you." "What urgent matter?" Tan Xiu was surprised. Borrowing money, what else could it be? Long Jinglin forced a smile. Originally, I wanted to borrow money from my father and brother. But who would have thought that they would be so poor recently that they can't even take out 12 million yuan? What a pity about that red silk flower. Damn it, I heard that thing is very valuable. If I can buy it and sell it abroad, I can definitely sell it for a sky-high price. Red silk flower. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment. Then, he seemed to realize something and hurriedly asked, "What is this red silk flower you mentioned? Is it a very rare medicinal herb?" "You know about the red silk flower?" Long Zhenglin was surprised. After asking, he recalled Tan Xiu's identity as a Chinese medicine practitioner. He immediately felt relieved and said, "That's right. It's that thing. The price of that thing seems to be sky-high in the foreign market now. Unfortunately, that profiteer doesn't have any overseas connections. It seems that the red silk flower can't see the light of day, so he was willing to sell it for 12 million yuan. I don't have any money, so that bastard from Qingqing Mountain bought it." "Where are you now?" Tan Xiu asked in a deep voice. "Let's meet now." Long Jinglin seemed to realize something and asked, "Do you also want the red silk flower?" "Absolutely," Tan Xiu replied without hesitation. "That thing is a treasure I urgently need now. Hurry up and tell me where you are. We'll talk when we meet." "I'm at the Mingyuan Resort in Zhongjing," said Long Jinglin. "That's right. Bring some money with you when you come here. I've been cheated by a bunch of bastards recently, and I almost used it to pawn my pants. Just deduct it directly from the magnificent Tang Corporation's dividend at the end of the year." "Got it." Tan Xiu didn't ask Long Jinglin who had cheated him. What he needed now was to know the whereabouts of the red silk flower. The red silk flower was one of the best main materials to refine the body refining elixir and blood seizing pill. It had an extremely strong compatibility and a very terrifying fission ability. These two effects were absolutely indispensable to the enhancement of a cultivator's physical strength. "I'm in a bit of a hurry, so I won't have breakfast at home." Tan Xiu bade farewell to Zhang Xinlan and hurriedly left the Blue Star Villa complex. This time, he didn't let Jin Shi and the others follow him and only took Mo Ao to Tianjin City. Shanghai was very close to Tianjin City, and it only took 2 hours to get there by car. 9:30 a.m. Tan Xiu and Mo Ao rushed to the Mingyuan Resort in Tianjin City. However, what made Tan Xiu speechless was that the Mingyuan Resort was a high-class resort that never accepted non-members. Therefore, Tan Xiu could only call Long Jinglin and ask him to come out and pick him up. "Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that big bro Tang would also have a day where you can be beaten. This Mingyuan Resort is run by a buddy of mine. Unless you have a referral, you can only spend a considerable amount of money to apply for a membership card here. Let's go. I've already ordered some people to prepare some food and wine. We're just waiting for you to come and eat together." Long Jinglin stroked his big bald head with a particularly bright smile. Tan Xiu didn't have the leisure to eat and drink and directly asked, "You said that the red silk flower was finally bought by that person from Qingqing Mountain. Who is that person?" Long Jinglin rolled his eyes and snappily said, "Haste makes waste, don't you know? Even if I tell you now, you won't get the red silk flower for the time being because that person from Qingqing Mountain has left Tianjin City 2 days ago." Upon hearing this, Tan Xiu had no choice but to suppress the desire in his heart and followed Long Jinglin into the Mingyuan Resort. The environment here was very good. Although it was only early summer, it was still full of beautiful flowers and contending with each other. The layout was also made use of the Tao of Feng Shui, making this place a good place for self-cultivation and recreation. Big Bro Tang, the owner of this place, is called Ren Qi, a well-known figure in Tianjin City. His family can be ranked in the top 5 in Tianjin City. When I first came to Tianjin City, I had a fight with him. It turned out that we didn't get to know each other and eventually became good friends, said Long Jinglin with a smile. "I have no interest in that Ren Qi," said Tan Xiu. Long Zhenglin rolled his eyes and went straight to the Mingyuan Resort's coffee shop with Tan Xiu. Although it was only in the morning, the coffee shop had already opened and several guests were drinking coffee and chatting inside. After randomly choosing a seat and sitting down, Long Zhenglin then said, "I know you're impatient, so I'll tell you about the situation first. The guy who bought the red silk flower is called Wang Tao. I heard that he's a famous playboy in the Qingqing mountain area. I'm not particularly clear about his specific origin, but every time he appears, he's always accompanied by a group of bodyguards. This is enough to prove that he has a great background and should have some relationship with the Wang family of Qingqing Mountain." Qingqing Mountain? The Wang family? Tan Xiu frowned and asked, "He knows an acquaintance of Qingqing Mountain, Wang Rui." "Never heard of him." Long Zhenglin shook his head. Chapter 771. Tan Xiu regretted that he didn't leave Wang Rui's contact information. Otherwise, he could ask Wang Rui. He believed that there would be results soon. However, even if he didn't have Wang Rui's contact information, it didn't mean that he couldn't do anything. He made several calls in a row and finally got Wang Rui's cell phone number. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is currently unavailable." The voice from the phone made Tan Xiu feel even more helpless. After angrily putting away his mobile, he looked at Long Zhenglin and said, "Are you busy with something in the near future? If not, can you help me go to Mount Qingqing?" With a strange expression, Long Zhenglin asked, "Is that red silk flower really that important to you?" Tan Xiu said without hesitation, "It's very important. If I can buy it, I'm willing to pay an astronomical price." Long Zhenglin took a deep breath and said, "Big bro Tang, who told us to be good brothers? Since you need it, I won't refuse. Give me some money, tomorrow, no, today, after lunch, I'll rush to Mount Qingqing. I'll find Wang Tao and buy the red silk flower from him." Tan Xiu took out a bank card and handed it to Long Zhenglin, saying, "There's some money in here. Take it first." It would be best if he could buy the red silk flower, but if he couldn't, he had to find out if the red silk flower was still around. "I need to go to Jingmen Island tomorrow to handle some important matters. I'll come back as soon as I'm done there." Long Zhenglin did not ask how much money was in the bank card. Instead, he directly called Ren Qi and asked him to come over. Then, he put away his mobile and said, "Big bro Tang, what have you been busy with recently? I went to your school to ask around. Ever since the new year, you haven't been to Shanghai University for classes much." Tan Xiu spread out his hands and said, "With great power comes great responsibility. Who asked me to be so powerful that I have to do all kinds of things? On the other hand, you seem to have been scammed by someone. What happened?" Long Zhenglin instantly became discouraged and said, "Don't mention it. After I came to Tianjin City last year, I set up an investment company. Originally, I just wanted to have a little fun. Who would have thought that the professional manager I hired would be so capable? In less than half a year, he helped me earn tens of millions. Therefore, I used the dividends I got from the magnificent Tang Corporation during the new year, a total of several hundred million yuan. And the result? That bastard actually colluded with outsiders to set up a trap for me and took away all my money. If it weren't for Ren Qi, my pocket would be cleaner than my face." Tan Xiu asked, "You really can't find him?" Long Zhenglin forced a smile and said, "The world is so big, and they also got such a large sum of money, so they must have already gone far away. How can we find them in such a vast sea of people? Forget it. It's just a few hundred million yuan. If it's gone, then it's gone. At worst, I'll just tighten my belt for the new year. At the end of the year, when the magnificent Tang Corporation pays dividends again, I'll become a billionaire again." Tan Xiu laughed and said, "You are really ambitious." Long Zhenglin said, "Can't one's heart be weak? I can't cry, throw a tantrum, and threaten to hang myself. I can't commit suicide just because I was cheated once, right?" They were chatting casually. A lean youth hurriedly came in from the outside. After seeing Long Zhenglin, he smilingly said, Long Jinglin, why did you call me in such a hurry? Is something the matter? Long Jinglin pointed to Tan Xiu, who was sitting in front of him, and smilingly said, let me introduce you. This is my eldest brother, Tan Xiu. Eldest brother Tang, he's Ren Qi. Tan Xiu got up and shook hands with Ren Qi, saying, nice to meet you. Ren Qi said with a smile, since you're Long Jinglin's friend, then you're also my friend. Brother Tang looks a bit familiar, may I ask where you work? I'm still a student, a freshman this year, said Tan Xiu. Ren Qi casually nodded. Then, he looked at Long Jinglin and asked, you called me in such a hurry, don't tell me you just want to introduce Brother Tang to me? I still have a mess over there that I need to solve as soon as possible. How about you help me get rid of that surnamed Ma brat? Ma Weibo. Long Jinglin was surprised. Ren Qi nodded and said, apart from that bastard, who else dares to make trouble here? I don't know what kind of medicine he took last night, but he insisted on making things difficult for a waitress here. If I hadn't forcefully stopped him, I'm afraid that waitress would have been killed by him. Long Jinglin shook his head and said, that fella is a lunatic. I can only beat him up at most, there's nothing else I can do. Since you're in your turf, you'll have to worry about it yourself. Anyways, I called you here to give you the money I owe you. Give me your account number, I'll transfer it to you now. You got the money? Ren Qi was surprised. Pointing to Tan Xiu, Long Jinglin grinned and said, you can eat and drink as long as you follow my eldest brother. How can you be short of money? Ren Qi nodded thoughtfully and said, let's not be so troublesome. If you really have the money, just directly charge it to your membership card and swipe it at any cashier in the resort. Brother Tang, I really have something to deal with, so I can't accompany you. I'll treat you to a drink at noon. Tan Xiu waved and said, since you have something to do, then go do it. I have something to discuss with Long Jinglin, so I'll return to Shanghai after that. Alright. Anyway, you can come to my place to play later. After saying that, Ren Qi left in a hurry. Tan Xiu looked at Long Jinglin and asked, who's that guy surnamed Ma? Why does he sound like a troublemaker? Long Jinglin forced a smile and said, he's more than a troublemaker. That bastard is definitely a lunatic, and his thinking is completely different from normal people. I had 2 conflicts with him before, and I beat him up both times. But the result? That bastard actually kept looking for experts to fight with me. Motherfucker, I won the first 2 times, but the 3rd time, I was beaten up miserably. Out of desperation, I also asked for external help, and we fought more than a dozen times before it was finally settled under Ren Qi's mediation. The Ma family is the biggest family in Tianjin City. Whether it's in the business world or the political world, they have their clansmen. Moreover, their status is very unusual. Whether it's legal business or some shady business, the Ma family has dabbled in it. As for their connections, even in the imperial capital, the Ma family has a very good relationship with other families. Even compared with your Tang family, the families in the imperial capital are not much weaker than the Tang family. That brat surnamed Ma is the 4th son of the current Ma family's patriarch. He's called Old Ma. Tan Xiu had heard of the Ma family. After all, Tianjin City was very close to Shanghai, and the Ma family's name was even more resounding. Even the Ji family in Changshi City was a bit inferior to the Ma family. At noon, Tan Xiu was about to leave the Mingyuan resort when trouble came to him. And the source of this trouble was none other than Old Ma of the Ma family. Oh, Long Jinglin. I didn't expect that you actually have the face to freeload in Ren Qi's territory. If you don't have money, hurry back to Star City and ask your old man for money. What's the matter with you freeloading here? Ma Xiaorong bit a toothpick between his teeth. He raised his head high and looked at Long Jinglin with a contemptuous expression. He even deliberately stood in front of Long Jinglin and Tan Xiu to show a provocative look. Long Jinglin frowned and said, Old Ma, if you're itching for a beating, feel free to be arrogant with me. I won't bicker with you today since my brother is here. If you don't know what's good for you, I can guarantee that you'll have a miserable end tomorrow. Ma Xiaorong covered his chest with both hands and deliberately showed a frightened expression. He then screamed loudly, "Oh, I'm so scared. Baldy Zhenglin is actually angry. He really came from the west side of Sun City. But Long Zhenglin, this young master didn't want to bicker with you before because this young master thought that it's boring to abuse you too many times. You." Long Zhenglin flew into a rage and rolled up his sleeves to beat him. Tan Xiu stopped Long Zhenglin and looked at Ma Xiaorong, saying, "You look like a decent person, but why do you like to stir up trouble? Is this how the Ma family's head educates his own son?" Ma Xiaorong rolled his eyes and disdainfully said, "Where the hell did you come from, you idiot? What does it have to do with you that I'm talking to Long Zhenglin? What's wrong with stirring up trouble? This young master can't afford to provoke you. You can do it if you have the ability." Slap! Tan Xiu slapped Ma Xiaorong's face and then directly kicked his chest, sending him flying 6 or 7 meters away. "Your mouth is dirty, so I'll help you wipe it. But if you dare to show off again, I'll make you never speak another word in your life." After being kicked in the chest, Ma Xiaorong was unable to breathe for a long time. It wasn't until his face turned ashen that he felt a little better. "Bro, you're more awesome than this Long Zhenglin. You gave me a good beating, very good. But I've taught Long Zhenglin a lesson before, so I can't show my true ability if I play the same trick again. How about this, I'll treat you to lunch, and we can talk about how to do it again while we eat." Lunatic. Tan Xiu felt a slight headache after hearing his heartfelt words. He wasn't afraid of a real lunatic, but he was afraid of those who played the fool. What he was afraid of were those with a one-track mind and extreme character. A trace of anger finally appeared on Ma Xiaorong's face as he seriously said, "I'm talking to you. Are you deaf or something? Let's have a game. No matter who wins or loses, we'll let the matter of you hitting me go." "You?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "You? You're not worthy. If you're not an annoying fly, then scram as far as you can." Ma Xiaorong clapped his hands and felt more satisfied. Despite the pain in his chest and the burning sensation on his face, he seemed to have found a fun game. He intended to stare at Tan Xiu shamelessly and even followed Tan Xiu. "Are you going to scram or not? I'll hit you now if you don't." Tan Xiu raised his palm and made a gesture to hit him. Ma Xiaorong quickly took out his cell phone and turned around to hand it to a bodyguard behind him. He then directly sat on the floor and said, "Come on, hit me. The more pain, the better." "Do you want me to hang a sign at the gate that says surnamed Ma is not allowed to enter? My third brother is my third brother, and I, Ma Weibo, am Ma Weibo." Ma Xiaorong angrily said, "Motherfucker, this young master has suffered a loss today, but this matter is not over yet. That bastard Long Zhenglin has eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. He even brought a dog to bite me. I'm gonna chop him into pieces. I don't care if you're called Ma Weibo, Ma Xiaorong, or fourth brother Ma," Ren Qi angrily said. "Please don't give me any more trouble. You know Long Zhenglin's origin. He's the second son of the Long family in Shuangqing Province's Star City. You also know how much power the Long family has. You don't have the ability to go against the Long family. As for that Tan Xiu, I advise you not to provoke him. For Long Zhenglin to regard him as his big brother, I'm afraid his origin is much stronger than his." "You mean I got beaten up for nothing?" Ma Xiaorong angrily said. "Is there something wrong with your brain, or is there something wrong with mine?" "Humph. Tan Xiu, isn't he? I'll remember him. As long as he's still in Tianjing City within 2 hours, I'll make him crawl out of Tianjing." Ren Qi was speechless. He could only helplessly shake his head as he watched Ma Xiaorong angrily leave with his hapless bodyguards. After thinking for a while, he took out his mobile and dialed Long Zhenglin's number. After the call was connected, he forced a smile and said, "Second young Master Long, even if your brother came to play, you don't need to play this big, right? It's not like you don't know what kind of person fourth brother Ma is. Isn't this just drawing hatred? It's fine. Long Zhenglin replied perfunctorily. Ren Qi helplessly sighed and said, forget it. I won't meddle in your affairs. If you can't handle it, then go hide first. That lunatic probably went home to find his brother. You should also persuade your brother to leave Tianjing City as soon as possible. You're well aware of the Ma family's power in Tianjing City. Don't worry. I know what to do. Tianjing City, Hongshan District. The Ma family's vast estate was built here. As early as the anti-Japanese war era, the Ma family was a famous and distinguished family in Tianjing City, as well as a powerful landlord. Most of the elders of the Ma family had gone abroad and studied abroad. Due to their high ideological awareness, they clearly chose the successor team of the Communist Party during the anti-Japanese war, so they smoothly passed through the anti-Japanese war era. With the wealth and connections left by their ancestors, coupled with decades of development, the Ma family now possessed great power. Even the newly emerged powerful families in Tianjing City had a big gap with the Ma family. The Ma family's manor, which occupied hundreds of acres of land, had a very distinct hierarchy. Because the north side of the manor was close to a mountain, the further north the manor was, the greater the authority of the people living there, and the more core members of the family were. Cough, cough, in the middle of the northernmost part of the Ma family's manor was an antique attic that constantly coughed. Outside the attic, dozens of core members of the Ma family were gathered. Each and every one of them had a worried look on their faces as their eyes constantly swept over the closed door. Creak, the door was opened from the inside, and a white-haired old man wearing a gray coat walked out with a few doctors. Among these doctors, there was a rather famous cardiologist in Tianjing City who had a high level of expertise in Western medicine. There were also 2 Chinese physicians with superb medical skills. However, at this moment, whether it was the white-haired old man or the 5 doctors, all of them had a very solemn expression. The people waiting outside the door had a bad premonition when they saw their solemn expressions. Second uncle, doctors, how is my father's condition? Asked the Ma family's patriarch, Ma Jianfeng, hurriedly. The white-haired old man shook his head and bitterly said, his condition is very serious. Even if we send him to a big city like Shanghai or the imperial capital, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do to save him. Ma Jianfeng's heart trembled. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but he swallowed the words that were just about to come out of his mouth after seeing the 5 doctors' expressions. We'll take our leave first. One of them, a middle-aged man in a white coat, sighed and walked out. The others didn't hesitate and quickly followed him. However, one of them was a middle-aged man in his 40s who wore ordinary clothes. After walking for 7 or 8 steps, he suddenly stopped. After thinking for a while, he turned back to Ma Jianfeng and the others, took a deep breath and said, Jianfeng, we're old friends, so I'll give you an idea. Although I can't guarantee that it'll work, there's still a good chance as long as they're willing to help. Ma Jianfeng stared blankly and hurriedly asked, you mean they are? I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner and I'm familiar with a lot of things in the Chinese medicine field, said the middle-aged man. Your father's condition is very serious and we're at a loss. But there are still some powerful Chinese medicine practitioners in our country. To be precise, they're even hailed as divine doctors. I know 3 of them. Aside from divine Dr. Leng who disappeared more than a decade ago, there's also divine Dr. Gui Jianqiu whose whereabouts are uncertain. The other one was the young divine doctor with superb medical skills, Tang Xiu, who had risen to fame in recent years. Perhaps your father can live for a few more years if they're willing to help. How can we find them? Asked Ma Jianfeng hurriedly. I really don't know the whereabouts of divine Dr. Gui Jianqiu, said the middle-aged man. But I know something about the young divine Dr. Tan Xiu. He's a doctor at the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, but he's hardly on duty there now. Rumor has it that the young divine Dr. Tan Xiu is studying at Demon City University, but I can't guarantee whether it's true or not. Your Ma family has a wide network, so you just need to check it out. I'll send someone to check it out right away, said Ma Jianfeng without hesitation. I'm willing to pay any price for my father. The white-haired old man also heavily nodded and said, that's right. Even if my Ma family has to spend hundreds of millions of our family's wealth, we must do it as long as we can cure Big Brother. At this time, an off-road vehicle roared as the emergency brake sound was heard and the door was forcefully pushed open. Ma Xiaorong, who had a bloody nose and swollen face, jumped out of the driver's seat and shouted, I heard there's a doctor in our house. Where is he? Hurry up and treat my injuries. Dozens of core members of the Ma family, as well as the middle-aged Chinese medical doctor who stayed temporarily, stared blankly. At this moment, Ma Xiaorong's appearance looked very miserable. Aside from the injuries on his face, there were also many footprints on his clothes. Ma Jianfeng was in a bad mood. Seeing his son's appearance, he immediately became angry and shouted, What happened to you? Where have you been fooling around? Ma Xiaorong was not afraid of anything, but he was afraid of his father. Upon hearing the reprimand, he immediately shrunk his head and turned around to go back to the car. Stop! Ma Jianfeng angrily shouted. Ma Xiaorong stopped with a bit of fear and said with a bit of fear, Dad, I'm already injured. You won't beat me, will you? Look at my nose. Look at my mouth. I'm that damned Long Jinglin from Star City and his friend, Tang Xiu. Third brother, why are you here? Why didn't you pick up my call? Let's go and help me take revenge. Ma Jianfeng's face turned completely dark. In the crowd of the Ma family, Ma Weikong shrunk his neck and angrily glared at Ma Xiaorong. Even if he wanted to take revenge, there was no need to say it so loudly in front of so many family members, right? Chapter 773. Jiang Kun was the vice president of the Tianjin Chinese Medicine Association and had superb Chinese medical skills. It could be said that he was the VIP of countless people in Tianjin, and the Ma family was no exception. Furthermore, he knew the Ma family's patriarch, Ma Jianfeng, more than 20 years ago and they had a very good personal relationship. Therefore, Jiang Kun knew Ma Jianfeng's situation and also knew that he had a good-for-nothing son. People said that dragons give birth to dragons and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes. But in his opinion, Ma Jianfeng was a powerful and capable person, so how could he give birth to such a useless fool? Alas! Jiang Kun sighed and was about to leave. Suddenly, a flash of lightning flashed in his mind and his complexion suddenly changed. Two names quickly formed in his mind. Star City. Tanxiu. He instantly stepped forward and stood in front of Ma Xiaorong, asking in a deep voice, You just said that Tanxiu, where is he from? His question made Ma Jianfeng's complexion slightly change. Even the dozens of core members of the Ma family in the surroundings also had their expressions moved. Who knows where this bastard came from? Ma Xiaorong angrily said. Shut the fuck up. Ma Jianfeng angrily shouted. Answer your Uncle Jiang immediately. What's Tanxiu's origin? Didn't you tell me to shut up? Ma Xiaorong muttered and then honestly said, I really don't know where he came from. I only know that he's with the second son of the Long family, Long Jinglin. Jiang Kun pondered for a moment and asked, How old is he? How does he look? Does he have any obvious features? He's 21 or 22 years old. He's very handsome, but not as handsome as me. As for any obvious features, I didn't notice. You're handsome. Handsome my ass. You're even worse than a pig now. Jiang Kun cursed inside and turned to look at Ma Jianfeng, saying, I've seen Tanxiu's photo. He's indeed very handsome, and he's about 21 years old. If you have a smartphone, you can directly search his information on the internet. Ma Jianfeng's expression changed. He immediately took out his phone and searched for Tanxiu's information. Soon, he found Tanxiu's photo. He handed the phone to Ma Xiaorong and shouted in a deep voice, Take a look at this photo. Is this the person in the photo? Ma Xiaorong glanced around and immediately shouted, "That's right. It's this bastard. He beat me up like this." Pa! Ma Jianfeng raised his hand and slapped Ma Xiaorong's face, causing him to fall on his butt. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he even kicked Ma Xiaorong several times and angrily shouted, "You bastard! How did I give birth to such a bastard son like you? Do you know who he is? He is the young miracle-working doctor, Tan Xiu. Your grandfather is still waiting for him to save his life. You actually had a conflict with him? I'll beat you to death." Several senior members of the Ma family hurriedly stopped Ma Jianfeng, but one of them still pointed at Ma Xiaorong and cursed, "You bastard. You never did any proper work and stirred up trouble before, but I didn't expect you to poke the hornet's nest today. If your father didn't beat you just now, I would have beaten you up myself." Ma Xiaorong was beaten silly and was even more tongue-tied after being scolded. What happened to my grandfather?" Ma Xiaorong slumped on the ground and asked while covering his swollen cheek. His question nearly made the Ma family's core members' noses crooked. Some of them even wanted to beat this brat to death. All the core members of the Ma family had received the notice that the old man was seriously ill. But the result? They called Ma Xiaorong several times and sent several text messages, yet they couldn't contact him. But now, he even had the face to ask what happened to the old man. Ma Jianfeng was stopped by several of his family members, but his anger was getting more intense. He gasped for breath and roared loudly, "Cut off all the pocket money of this bastard from today onward and take back all his cars and houses outside. If anyone from our family dares to help him secretly, I'll drive him out of the family and never let him come back. Spread the news to his scoundrels outside. Whoever dares to lend him money on credit is tantamount to going against our Ma family. Let them wait for our revenge. Big brother." Ma Xiaorong's aunt quickly called out. Ma Jianfeng steeled his heart and roared, "Don't try to persuade me. Whoever dares to do so will also get the fuck out of the Ma family. This bastard has been stirring up trouble all day long. If we don't teach him a lesson, he'll bring trouble to our family in the future." For a moment, everyone fell into silence. Ma Jianfeng had absolute prestige in the Ma family, so no one dared to provoke him at this time. Ma Jianfeng took a deep breath, turned his head and said, "Immediately investigate Tan Xiu's whereabouts. Since he happens to be in Tianjin City, you must find him in the shortest time possible. Remember, don't disturb him after you find him. I'll see him in person and apologize to him." Immediately, several core members of the Ma family strode away. After leaving the Mingyuan resort, Tan Xiu and Long Zhenglin hurried to the residential area where Long Zhenglin lived. Tan Xiu was eager for Long Zhenglin to rush to Qingqing Mountain and find the whereabouts of the red silk flower. "I'll return to Shanghai first and rush to Jingmen Island early tomorrow morning. As for the red silk flower, I'll leave it to you. You must get it no matter what the cost. But don't worry if the other party really doesn't want to sell it. Calm him down first and wait for me to come back. I'll contact you immediately and we'll figure out a solution then." "I understand." Long Zhenglin nodded. Tan Xiu patted Long Zhenglin's shoulder and said, "Leave Tianjin City as soon as possible. That brat old fourth Ma is not a good person, so don't provoke him for the time being. I'll deal with him when I come back." Long Zhenglin grinned and said, "I naturally believe in your ability, Big Bro Tang." Long Zhenglin grinned and said, "All right, you don't need to explain anymore. Hurry back to Shanghai, I'll pack my things and then rush to Qingqing Mountain." "All right." Tan Xiu replied and turned back to sit in the car. Half an hour later, just as he drove on the highway, he glanced at the rearview mirror and said, "Boss, 2 cars have been following us for several minutes." Tan Xiu looked back and indifferently said, "Don't pay attention to them. If they are from the Ma family, we won't be polite if they dare to attack us on our way back." "All right." Moo nodded. However, it didn't take long before the 2 black SUVs behind suddenly sped up and overtook Moo's car. One on the left and the other on the right blocked the front while slowly decelerating. Just as Mol was about to change the lane and overtake them, the window of one of the cars suddenly opened. A middle-aged man poked his head out and waved to the back, signaling for the car to stop on the roadside. "Stop," Tan Xiu said indifferently. Mol parked the car on the roadside and directly got off the car. He then stood at the back door and watched the two cars in front stop. Four middle-aged men followed a refined middle-aged man and asked indifferently, "What's the matter?" "Excuse me, is the one sitting in the car Tan Xiu, divine Dr. Tang?" asked the middle-aged man with a smile. "Who are you?" asked Mol with a frown. "I'm Ma Jiandong of the Ma family, and the Ma family's patriarch, Ma Jianfeng, is my big brother," said the middle-aged man with a smile. "I was ordered by my big brother to invite divine Dr. Tang to my Ma family as a guest. Also, my big brother is on the way and will be here in half an hour at most." Tan Xiu opened the window and looked at Ma Jiandong outside. Then, he lightly said, "The Ma family invited me as a guest. Do you want to play the Hongmen banquet?" Ma Jiandong understood the meaning of Tan Xiu's words and forced a wry smile. "You misunderstood, divine Dr. Tang. My Ma family has absolutely no intention to play the Hongmen banquet. The reason why we invited you is that my big brother wants to apologize to you in person. I hope that you, a great man of great stature, won't stoop to the same level as my good-for-nothing nephew." A glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. If it's not a Hongmen banquet, why would they want to apologize to me with such great fanfare? Could it be that the Ma family has something to ask of me? Also, this man addressed me as divine Dr. Tang. Could it be that someone in the Ma family is sick and wants me to treat him? I'm sorry. I don't want to have anything to do with the Ma family, said Tan Xiu with an indifferent smile. Don't waste my time if you just want to apologize. Ma Jiandong quickly said, Divine Dr. Tang, actually, we have something to ask of you. Just spit it out. Tan Xiu said. I'm in a hurry to return to Magic City. Ma Jiandong hesitated for a moment and bitterly said, My father is seriously ill and I want to ask you to treat him, Divine Dr. Tang. The vice president of the Tianjin Chinese Medicine Association, Jiang Kuan, is a good friend of my big brother. He recommended you, thinking that your medical skills are superb and can save my father. I don't have time. Tan Xiu straightforwardly refused. Divine Dr. Tang, our Ma family is begging you. Please save my father for the sake of our filial piety. Begged Ma Jiandong. My big brother said that our Ma family is willing to pay any price. As long as, you can cure my father's illness. You won't let me go if I don't agree, will you? Tan Xiu sneered. Ma Jiandong stared blankly and hesitated for a while before he forced a smile and said, Divine Dr. Tang, my big brother gave me a death order to keep you here no matter what. Even if you want me to kowtow to you, I'm willing as long as you can stay and wait for him. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and lightly said, This is not a place to stay for long. Let's go to the service area first. Don't worry. I won't make things difficult for you for the sake of your filial piety. Thank you. Thank you, Divine Dr. Tang. Ma Jiandong was overjoyed and immediately returned to the two cars in the front with the four middle-aged men and started the car to move forward. At the service area of Hong Kong Expressway. After waiting for more than 20 minutes, more than a dozen cars arrived. As a group of people got off the cars, the Ma family's patriarch, Ma Jianfeng, rushed to the front and quickly came to Tan Xiu's car. Are you Divine Dr. Tang? Chapter 774. Ma Jianfeng's attitude was very humble. After all, he had a favor to ask, and his bastard son had offended him. So, he stood outside the car window, bowed, and smiled, covering up the gloomy feelings in his heart. Bam! Tan Xiu came out of the car. After closing the door, he looked at Ma Jianfeng and nodded. That's right. I'm Tan Xiu. What's your name? Ma Jianfeng, Jian as in construction and Feng as in mountain peak. It turns out to be Patriarch Ma. Nice to meet you. Tang Xiu let out a smile. He was not the kind of hot-headed young man who was full of youthful vigor. Since the Ma family's patriarch had put himself in such a humble position, it was not good for him to act too arrogant. The Ma family was, after all, one of the biggest families in Tianjin City. It was not easy for Ma Jianfeng to do this. They shook hands, chatted, and laughed. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Tan Xiu slowly said, I already know Patriarch Ma's intention for going through so much trouble. But let's get the ugly words out of the way first. I don't know anything about the Ma family's old patriarch's condition. I don't even know what kind of illness it is, so I don't dare to guarantee that I can cure him. Ma Jianfeng put away his smile and seriously said, I understand what you said, Divine Dr. Tang. But I hope you can do your best. It can be said that you're the last life-saving straw to cure my father. We'll try our best to fulfill your request no matter what it is. A strange light flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. He waved and said, treating and saving people is the duty of us doctors, so forget about the request. I've heard that the Ma family is a very good family with a good reputation both in Tianjin City and the whole country. You flatter me, Divine Dr. Tang, said Ma Jianfeng modestly. Actually, I'm ashamed that my reckless son offended you. I'll make him apologize to you and sincerely apologize to you, Divine Dr. Tang. Your son. Tan Xiu deliberately pretended to be confused and asked with a puzzled face. Ma Jianfeng stared blankly and asked in surprise, You don't know Ma Xiaorong, Divine Dr. Tang? He is my fourth son. Tang Xiu's face instantly turned cold. Under the watchful eyes of the Ma family, he opened the car's door and sat inside. Then, he spoke to Mo Ao through the window in a deep voice, Ao, go back to Shanghai. Ma Jianfeng's heart thumped and he quickly said with a smile, Divine Dr. Tang, I know it's all my son's fault. A great man like you shouldn't stoop to petty offenses committed by a lowly man like me. Please don't stoop to my good-for-nothing son's level. Tan Xiu replied indifferently, I originally thought that the Ma family was as good as rumored, but I didn't expect that the descendants of this family are so unbearable. My friend told me that Ma Xiaorong is a hooligan from Tianjin City. He uses his family's power to commit crimes. I've seen it for myself. Last night, he bullied a girl at Mingyuan Resort and ordered his group of bodyguards to besiege me. If I didn't know some martial arts, I'm afraid I would have been sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. Ma Jianfeng was shocked inwardly. Although he knew that his fourth son was usually ignorant and incompetent, he didn't expect him to be such a debauchee. Bullying a girl. Ordering his bodyguards to besiege others. Suddenly, Ma Jianfeng felt that his punishment for his son was too light. If he had known earlier, he would have whipped him dozens of times to make him remember the family's ancestral teachings clearly. Not only him, but many of the core members of the Ma family who came with Ma Jianfeng also heard Tan Xiu's words clearly. For a time, everyone's face was filled with anger and their evaluation of Ma Xiaorong was extremely bad. In fact, they had done some shameful things, but there was a reason for it. Perhaps it was because of personal grudges or for some benefits. They had never stirred up trouble for no good reason and acted like a tyrant. Ma Jianfeng took a deep breath and seriously said, Divine Dr. Tang, it's the father's fault for not teaching his son properly. I used to focus on developing the Ma family and neglected to discipline my son. You can rest assured that I'll definitely keep a close eye on him in the future and guarantee that he won't do anything bad again. Although I've punished him this time, it's still not enough. I'll make him taste the consequences of his wrongdoings later. Tan Xiu was silent for half a minute. Then, he slowly took out a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a puff, he exhaled the smoke and said, I can treat and save people, but the visiting fee is indispensable. I hope you can accept my request. That's only natural. We'll definitely accept it. Ma Jianfeng was depressed. As the Ma family's patriarch, he was naturally astute. How could he not hear the anger in Tan Xiu's heart at this moment? But he couldn't blame him for this. Had it not been for his son offending him, perhaps he wouldn't have made such a ridiculous request. After all, he was a divine doctor. If one wanted to become a divine doctor, the most important thing was to have medical ethics, in addition to having magical medical skills. Behind him, the other core members of the Ma family had their mouths twitch. They hated Ma Xiaorong inside. If it wasn't for that bastard brat, their Ma family wouldn't have been slaughtered by him, right? If Tan Xiu's request was too excessive, they must advise the patriarch to break that bastard brat's leg. It took nearly an hour for the convoy to leave the high-speed service area to arrive at the Ma family's manor. More than 20 cars rushed into the manor and directly stopped in front of the antique pavilion where the Ma family's old patriarch lived in the northernmost area. Huh? Tan Xiu's expression slightly moved as soon as he got off the car. With his eyesight, he could easily see the feng shui layout of the Ma family's manor, especially the antique pavilion in front of him. It was like a finishing touch that activated the entire feng shui layout of the Ma family's manor. Fortune. A prosperous family. A century-old clan. Tan Xiu finally understood why the Ma family could go smoothly all these years and develop to such a huge extent. With such a feng shui layout, even if the Ma family's leader was a fool, he wouldn't let the family fall. It was no wonder that Ma Jianfeng alone had 4 sons. It seems that your Ma family's ancestors have met a benefactor. Tan Xiu turned his head to look at Ma Jianfeng, who was walking over, and said indifferently. What do you mean by that, Divine Dr. Tang? Asked Ma Jianfeng doubtfully. It's nothing. I just couldn't help but sigh after seeing the characteristics of the feng shui layout of your Ma family's manor, said Tan Xiu indifferently. You also know feng shui? Asked Ma Jianfeng, surprised. If there's no need to be modest, my attainments in feng shui should be better than my medical skills, said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. Your Ma family's feng shui layout has the east gate attracting the rising sun violet qi, the north gate locking the fortune and fortune, the south gate leading to the Grand Avenue, and the west gate leading to a roundabout path, bringing thousands of descendants. This pavilion is the eye of the array formation, so presumably there's a small spiritual vein underground that can continuously condense energy. If your father had lived here for a long time, perhaps I would have known the cause of his illness. Ma Jianfeng sucked in a cold breath and looked at Tang Xiu with a shocked expression. The Ma family's feng shui layout was created by a powerful feng shui master 100 years ago. That feng shui master spent more than half a year to complete the arrangement with great painstaking efforts. It had been nearly 100 years. No one had ever been able to see through the mysteries of their Ma family's land. Never did he expect that Tan Xiu would be able to see through the entire feng shui layout so thoroughly. You're right, Divine Dr. Tang, said Ma Jianfeng hurriedly. My father has indeed lived in this pavilion all year round. His health was originally very good, and he was still as strong as a young man even at the age of 70. But I don't know why, but his body has been aging at a frightening speed since the end of this year. So much so that he's almost in a comatose state now and only wakes up occasionally. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, Your Ma family's providence is too prosperous. You've been prosperous for 100 years, and the accumulated good fortune has finally condensed on one person, your father. Naturally, he's in good health. Even for many years, he's never been sick or stricken, and his health is astounding. It's just a pity. Having said that, Tan Xiu sighed deeply and strode into the pavilion. The power of providence? The moment Tang Xiu stepped into the attic's door, he immediately sensed the rich power of providence inside. This power of providence was extremely special. Although it was not as rich as the massive power of providence stored in the treasure inside his interspatial ring, it was still not to be underestimated. Absorb. Tan Xiu silently operated the heavenly art of cosmic genesis and calmly absorbed the providence power here. He didn't need Ma Jianfeng to point the way and walked step by step toward the stairs. After coming to a room on the second floor, he directly pushed the door and entered. His eyes then fell on an old man lying on the bed. Others couldn't see it, but he could clearly see that the old man lying on the bed was enveloped by the colorful power of karmic luck. Because the power of karmic luck was so dense, even the old man's essence, energy, and spirit were being absorbed by the power of karmic luck. At this rate, the old man on the bed would completely lose his essence, energy, and spirit and die in half a month at most. Tan Xiu turned his head and looked at Ma Jianfeng and several of the most powerful members of the Ma family. He lightly asked, "You're now facing two choices. First, save his life and destroy the Ma family's Providence Foundation. Second, let him die and ensure that the Ma family continues to prosper for nearly 100 years. Ma Jianfeng's expression greatly changed, and the others also looked aghast. Ma Qingye, Ma Jianfeng's second uncle and an old man with high prestige in the Ma family, took 2 steps forward at this moment and nervously looked at Tan Xiu, asking, "Divine Dr. Tang, is it possible to have both choices?" Tan Xiu shot him a deep look and nodded. These old men of the Ma family are very good. At least they don't have the intention to plot against each other. Yes, but the price is very high. Chapter 775. What's the price to pay, Divine Dr. Tang? Asked Ma Qingye without hesitation. The Ma family won't have another member in the next 5 years, Tan Xiu said lightly. The Ma family will have 10 babies under the age of 3 leave their glabella flower to share the Ma family's fortune. Only one of them will survive in the end. The Ma family will need to gather magic tools of the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth elements to condense their fortune in the next 5 years. One member of the Ma family will sacrifice his lifespan for 10 years to pray for blessings. Hiss! Ma Jianhua, Ma Qingye, and the other 4 high-ranking members of the Ma family gasped at the same time and looked at Tan Xiu in horror. This price, wasn't it too terrifying? It's not like you won't get any benefits if you choose this, said Tan Xiu flatly. At the very least, the child who survives will become the hope of the Ma family in the future. As long as no evil feng shui master destroys your family's feng shui, he can lead the Ma family to go further and become stronger. Ma Jianfeng was silent for a long time and then bitterly said, "Divine Dr. Tang, this is a very important matter. I need to discuss it with the family's top brass." While pointing to the old man on the bed, Tang Xiu lightly said, "He can only hold on for half a month at most. If you don't make a decision within half a month, then only death awaits him. Your Ma family will probably decline after you hand over your power and authority. Further, I'll be back in Shanghai tonight at the latest since I have an important matter to deal with tomorrow. I don't know when I'll be back. Therefore, you only have one afternoon to discuss it." One afternoon. The Ma family's complexion changed and they quickly exchanged glances. Ma Jianfeng then solemnly said, "Divine Dr. Tang, do you still want to diagnose my father?" Tan Xiu nodded and walked to the bed to buckle the old man's wrist. After checking the pulse, he judged the old man's physical condition and found that it was no different from his previous judgment. After leaving the room and coming to the first floor, he said, "Find me a quiet room. I need to write something." "My father's study is at the end of the left corridor," said Ma Jianfeng immediately. Tan Xiu nodded and followed Ma Jianfeng to the study. He looked around the antique study and finally his eyes fell on the writing brush, ink, paper, and inkstone on the desk. In this day and age, there were not many scholars who could still possess the 4 treasures of the study, especially when the walls around the room were covered with calligraphy and paintings from ancient and modern masters and painters. Being here, one could feel the aura of Confucianism and Taoism. "What else do you need, Divine Dr. Tang?" Ma Jianfeng asked. "Cinnabar ink, yellow paper," Tan Xiu said. "If you're sure you want to save your father, you'll need 10 more unpolished jades." "I'll immediately send someone to find him," said Ma Jianfeng in a deep voice. "Also, I still have to discuss this matter with the other members of the family, so I won't be accompanying you here." Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "Go. Just send someone to bring some food over later." Ma Jianfeng stared blankly for a moment. Then, he suddenly remembered that it was already noon and Tan Xiu hadn't eaten yet. A smile appeared on his dignified face as he complied and left with the rest of the Ma family. Mo Al stood at the desk and watched Ma Jianfeng close the door from the outside. He immediately lowered his voice and asked, "Boss, are you going to rip them off?" A faint smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he asked, "Don't you think it's a pity that the Ma family has so much wealth and can't use it? I'm kind-hearted, so I intend to help them spend some money or share some other treasures. This is a good deed." Mo Al's heart twitched a few times as he looked at Tan Xiu speechlessly. He had been following Tang Xiu for more than a day or two, and he had seen Tang Xiu's moves many times. The way Tang Xiu brutally slaughtered others made him shudder. Soon after, the fragrant dishes were delivered. Just as Tan Xiu and Mo Al were satiated, the Ma family's clansmen sent them the best cinnabar ink and 10 pieces of jade. After Tan Xiu sent them away, he immediately began to draw talismans and craft magic tools. In the evening, Ma Jianfeng came to Tan Xiu's study room with a gloomy expression. This time, only his second uncle, Ma Qingye, came with him. Tan Xiu looked at their expressions and understood their choice. He sighed inwardly and indifferently said, "You've chosen to give up the Ma family's old patriarch, so I don't need to do anything else. I've made talismans and magic tools, but you don't need them anymore, so I'll give you the corresponding money according to the market price." Ma Jianfeng took a deep breath and seriously asked, "It seems that you've already guessed the result, Divine Dr. Tang. As a matter of fact, I really want to save my father, but there's really nothing I can do. The Ma family has a lot of people, but the whole family will have no descendants in the next 5 years, and you'll have to use 10 children to do it." Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt him and calmly said, "I understand your difficulties. Then, we'll take our leave first. Someone will naturally send you the money for the cinnabar ink and the jade tomorrow." Ma Jianfeng quickly said, "Divine Dr. Tang, do you have a way to temporarily preserve my father's life? 10 months, just 10 months is enough." "I don't get what you're thinking." Tan Xiu knitted his brows. Ma Jianfeng steeled his heart and gritted his teeth. 10 months is enough for the Ma family to have a lot of new members. As long as we can gather 10 people at that time, we'll choose to save my father." Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and carefully observed Ma Jianfeng a few times. Then, he indifferently said, "I do have a way to make your father live for a year and a half, but I'll have to pay a big price for it. I want to know what kind of price your family can pay for it." "What do you need to pay, sir?" asked Ma Jianfeng. "I need to pay twice the lifespan," Tan Xiu lied with his eyes wide open. Hiss! Ma Jianfeng and Ma Qingye exchanged glances and gasped while silently calculating what price to pay for Tan Xiu to pay the price of his lifespan. After a long while, "Divine Dr. Tang, feel free to tell me what you need. We'll do our best as long as it's within our means," said Ma Jianfeng in a deep voice. "Ores, at least 10 fist-sized precious ores, plus 1 billion renminbi," said Tan Xiu lightly. "Of course, if your family has some strange things that can catch my eye, I can forget about 1 billion renminbi." Ma Jianfeng pondered for a moment and then straightforwardly said, 10 precious ores for 1 billion renminbi. Give my family 1 night and I guarantee that I'll give it to you before midnight." "All right." Tan Xiu replied and went straight to the room on the second floor where the old patriarch of the Ma family was. Ma Jianfeng and the others wanted to follow him inside, but Tan Xiu stopped them. After entering the room, Tan Xiu took out a holy healing pill, broke half of it and stuffed it into the old patriarch's mouth. Then, he walked to the side and sat cross-legged. Half a holy healing pill was enough to greatly enhance the old patriarch's vitality. Furthermore, as long as the old patriarch moved out of this pavilion, it wouldn't be a problem for him to live for another year. Time ticked by. 3 hours later, Tang Xiu controlled his qi and blood, deliberately making his complexion pale and beads of sweat appear on his forehead. He looked at the Ma family's old patriarch, whose breathing had stabilized on the bed, and then walked out of the room with weak footsteps. "Divine Dr. Tang, are you alright? Upon seeing Tan Xiu's appearance, Ma Jianfeng's heart skipped a beat and he hurriedly held Tan Xiu's arm and asked. Tan Xiu squeezed out a smile with difficulty and shook his head. I'm fine. It's just that I suddenly extracted my life force and injected it into the old patriarch's body. It consumed too much of my mental and physical strength. Your father is fine for the time being. As long as you move him out of this pavilion and send someone else to live here, there won't be any problem. It's not a problem to move my father to another place, but why do you want to send someone else to live here? Asked Ma Jianfeng. The human body is the most primitive feng shui array, and only a person can continue to receive the power of destiny and destiny to ensure the Ma family's destiny, said Tan Xiu. Else, not only will your family's feng shui array no longer be beneficial to you, it will also cause your family to decline rapidly. Extreme prosperity is bound to decline, and it's the fruit of the cycle of the heavenly Tao. Ma Jianfeng suddenly understood, but he still asked, will the new people who move in encounter the same situation as my father? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, not only will there be no harm in living here for a year and a half, you'll also get some benefits. As for what the benefits are, you'll find out later. I'll immediately send someone to move my father out, said Ma Jianfeng immediately. Divine Dr. Tang, why don't you go to my father's study room and wait for a while? I'll immediately come over after I'm done with my work. I'll give you 10 precious ores and 1 billion renminbi when the time comes. All right. Tan Xiu naturally didn't want to leave the pavilion immediately. Although he had been desperately absorbing the power of destiny and destiny here for the whole afternoon and night, the amount he absorbed was still less than 1/10. If it wasn't for the fact that he still had something to do tomorrow, he really wanted to stay here until he absorbed all the power of destiny and destiny here. It must be noted that, the power of destiny and destiny here was different from the one in the Qin Emperor's imperial jade seal. The power of destiny and destiny here was very mild and didn't crazily drill into his body when he absorbed it. As for the huge power of destiny and destiny in the Qin Emperor's imperial jade seal, it crazily poured into his body when he just tried to absorb it, nearly causing his body to explode and die. The Ma family's reputation was quite good. After waiting for less than half an hour, Ma Jianfeng hurriedly returned and ordered 5 stalwart men to put 5 trays of 10 precious ores on the table in front of Tan Xiu. He waved his hand to signal them to leave and immediately took out a bank card, saying, Divine Dr. Tang, there's 1 billion yuan in this bank card and the password is written on the back. As for these 10 precious ores, please appraise them. I'll immediately send someone to exchange them if you don't like them. Tan Xiu casually put the bank card into his pocket and then lifted the yellow cloth on the tray. The first thing he saw was a black stone. This is... Tan Xiu's heart thumped wildly and disbelief filled his eyes. Chapter 776. Magic Stone. A sealed magic stone. Tan Xiu's eyes were fixated on the fist-sized black magic stone. His heartbeat sped up. He once thought that the small coffin made of magic stone did not belong to this world. Therefore, he always absorbed the magic power inside the magic stone with the thought that he would consume as little as possible. At this moment, he finally realized that magic stones did exist on Earth. Otherwise, it would be impossible for one to appear here. He needed magic stones. If he could have a steady supply of them, he would be able to strengthen his physique to the first stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, Star's tyrannical body great perfection stage. Tan Xiu looked at Ma Jianfeng and asked in a deep voice, Patriarch Ma, where did you get this ore? Ma Jianfeng thought for a while and said, I don't know exactly where I got it from. My Ma family has a large population, and many of our juniors will get their hands on precious items from the outside and then exchange them for money or positions in the family. However, I do have some impression of it. It's very sturdy. Even divine weapons can hardly leave a mark on it. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said, I'll have to trouble Patriarch Ma to help me ask where this ore came from. If you can give me a satisfactory answer, I'll help you solve the problem of old Master Ma and solve your family's problems for free. Ma Jianfeng's complexion changed. He nodded without hesitation and said, "No problem. I'll check it out immediately." However, half an hour later, Ma Jianfeng returned dejectedly and looked at Tan Xiu's expectant eyes. He forced a smile and said, "I've found it, but it's not the origin of this ore. This ore was brought back from the outside 60 or 70 years ago by a member of my Ma family. He didn't leave any information about this ore and died more than 30 years ago." Tan Xiu nodded with a disappointed face. After putting away the 10 precious ores, he said, "I won't stay long since the Ma family's problem has been solved for the time being. I'll definitely return to the Ma family within a year and completely solve the feng shui problem of the Ma family. I'll see you off." Ma Jianfeng respectfully sent Tan Xiu out of the Ma family manor and watched the car drive away. He silently turned his head to look at the robust Ma Qingye and thoughtfully said, "Second uncle, this Tan Xiu is indeed not a simple man. Fortunately, we didn't completely offend him. Otherwise, I'm afraid our Ma family would have been doomed." "You're right." Ma Qingye nodded and sighed. "Our Ma family wouldn't have attached so much importance to him if he was just a divine doctor. But he turned out to be a feng shui master, which was simply amazing. Whether it was in ancient times or now, who would dare to offend a powerful feng shui master? If this kind of people were to be provoked, they would set up a sinister feng shui formation on the other party's ancestral grave, which could definitely kill them without leaving a trace. Jianfeng, your fourth son is too outrageous. In my opinion, he should be severely punished as a warning to others." Ma Jianfeng, who had long been disappointed with his fourth son, Ma Xiaorong, replied in a heavy tone, "That little bastard almost destroyed our Ma family. He must be severely punished for this. Second uncle, I'll have to trouble you to order that little bastard to repent and turn over a new leaf in the ancestral hall for 3 years. Also, spread the news that Tan Xiu is a distinguished guest of our Ma family. Whoever dares to make an enemy of Tan Xiu will be our Ma family's enemy in the future." Ma Qingye hesitated for a moment and said, "Isn't this decision a bit hasty? We haven't thoroughly investigated Tan Xiu's identity yet." A smile appeared on Ma Jianfeng's dignified face as he said, "I received a message about 10 minutes ago. What do you think of Tan Xiu's identity and background? What do you think?" Ma Qingye's expression moved and hurriedly asked. "He's a long-lost descendant of the Tang family in the imperial capital," said Ma Jianfeng with a smile. "He's deeply loved by the Tang family's patriarch. You must know that Tan Xiu has a group of experts around him. I've asked the guards and the bodyguard who beat my fourth son. Finally, I can confirm that Tan Xiu has at least one martial arts grandmaster as his subordinate." "Martial arts grandmaster? He's someone else's subordinate?" Ma Qingye stared blankly for a moment before he immediately nodded and said, "It should be correct. Only the Tang family has such a great ability to send a martial arts grandmaster to protect Tan Xiu." That night, the news that the fourth son of the Ma family, Ma Xiaorong, was beaten and then severely punished by the family spread throughout Tianjing city as though it had grown wings. Even some influential people in several nearby cities also got the news that the Ma family and Tan Xiu were on good terms. Tan Xiu. They had heard of this name before and knew that he was the young miracle-working doctor of the Shuangqing province's Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. He had appeared in various media channels many times and had been exposed many times. Mingyuan Resort. Ren Qi was listlessly nestled on the soft sofa, quietly watching the news on the TV. Although he was not a member of the system and didn't need to know the political content in the news, he still persisted. It was because this was the habit of watching the news that his father had trained him since childhood. Knock, knock, the door was knocked as a young woman with a pretty face and a thin veil draped over her shoulders came in. She walked gracefully toward Ren Qi and asked with a smile, "What are you thinking about? Why are you so distracted while watching the news?" Ren Qi forced a smile and said, "I just received the news that Fourth Ma has encountered a ruthless person and was severely punished by the family elders. It's estimated that we won't be able to see him for the next 3 years." The young woman was surprised and asked, "What happened? Isn't the Ma family's patriarch, Ma Jianfeng, very fond of his fourth son. I don't know the specific details, but it's definitely related to Tan Xiu. Ren Qi shook his head. Because after the Ma family spread the news that fourth Ma was severely punished, they immediately released another news that Tan Xiu and the Ma family have a deep relationship. Whoever opposes Tan Xiu is the same as going against the Ma family. The young woman was shocked and said, "Those foxes of the Ma family can actually release such news?" It seems that the relationship between the Ma family and Tan Xiu is extremely close. It should be very close. But I seem to have done something wrong. Ren Qi forced a smile and said. "What is it?" asked the young woman. "Tan Xiu came to our Mingyuan resort today, but I didn't recognize him at that time. I didn't expect that he's the young miracle-working doctor, Tan Xiu. There's one thing you may not know. The big boss behind the magnificent Tang Corporation is the young miracle-working doctor, Tan Xiu. Furthermore, I've sent people to investigate. Tan Xiu is a member of the Tang family in the imperial capital. He's the beloved grandson of the Tang family's patriarch. Even if Tan Xiu's identity is very powerful and you didn't recognize him, it doesn't matter, does it?" The young woman was surprised. "You don't understand." Ren Qi shook his head and sighed. "He's Long Zhenglin's brother, and they have a very good relationship. If I can borrow Long Zhenglin's face to make friends with Tan Xiu, it will be of great benefit to me and the Ren family in the future. Don't forget that the Tang family is one of the top super families in the entire Huaxia." The young woman could be considered as a smart person and understood it immediately. Although she didn't care much about connections and benefits, she could still realize that Ren Qi had missed a great opportunity. Shanghai. After returning from Tianjin City, Tan Xiu immediately packed up his things and boarded the train to Jingmen Island overnight. Since he had bought a sleeping berth, he only needed to sleep at night and would be able to arrive at Jingmen Island by noon the next morning. This time, Tan Xiu didn't bring Mo Ao and the others with him since he only got one quota to explore the 3-star vestige. Therefore, he couldn't bring Mo Ao with him and could only wait in Shanghai. Before leaving, he told his close friends about his whereabouts. But he only said that he was going on a long journey and didn't tell them his destination. Jingmen Island. In a remote and small port in the southeast, dozens of dilapidated fishing boats were anchored on the shore, and many fishermen were coming and going with a fishy smell. Wang Xiaodong had his own fishing boat. In previous years, he would always go out to sea to catch fish and then trade with the fishmongers. But today, despite the sun shining brightly, he still didn't show any signs of going out to sea. He lazily lay on the deck of the fishing boat with his hands as a pillow and legs crossed, leisurely watching the busy figures of the familiar people around him. Occasionally, some fishermen joked with him, but he only gave a perfunctory response. Wang Xiaodong. On the shore, 2 men and 2 women stopped and the burly middle-aged man among them asked in a deep voice. Wang Xiaodong squinted his eyes and immediately jumped up when he saw who it was. He whistled as his eyes greedily moved away from the 2 graceful and beautiful women and said aloud, "That's right, I'm Wang Xiaodong." "Who are you? Why are you looking for me?" "I'm Zhu Long." The burly Zhu Long jumped to the bow deck and took out a stack of 100 yuan bills from his pocket. He threw it to Wang Xiaodong and said, "I've transferred the deposit to your bank card through bank transfer. I believe you've received it. You also know our purpose. We'll set off after all of our people have arrived." Wang Xiaodong's eyes lit up. He estimated the stack of 100 yuan bills in his hand and felt that it was at least 10,000 yuan. With the thought of making a fortune, Wang Xiaodong happily put the money away and asked, "Zhu. Big brother Zhu Long, right? Money makes the world go round. I'm happy to serve you. I've prepared everything we need, including food and drinks. I'm sure we can stay at sea for 10 days to half a month." "That's right, how many people do you have?" "My fishing boat can't accommodate many people. Apart from the 4 of you, it can only accommodate 10 more people at most." "There's one more," said Zhu Long indifferently. Wang Xiaodong immediately felt relieved and asked, big brother Zhu Long, you're not going out to sea to enjoy the magnificent waves of the sea, are you? Judging from your temperament and attire, it's obvious that you're rich. Why do you want to rent my fishing boat? Why didn't you rent a luxury yacht? Chapter 777. Zhu Long indifferently glanced at Wang Xiaodong and indifferently said, "Didn't the introducer warn you that your task this time is only to escort us to the Strait of Malacca? No matter what you encounter or see on the way, you shouldn't look, listen, or ask." Wang Xiaodong sneered inwardly and was somewhat dismissive. He was not blind or deaf, so how could he not look and not listen? He even cursed inwardly, acting so mysterious, "Don't tell me you're doing some shady business." The red-haired youth, Fire Devil, who was carrying a birdcage, said in a cynical tone, "Zhu Long, why are you talking so much with this brat, boss? Since he took our money, he has to do things honestly for us. If he makes us unhappy, we can just throw him into the sea and feed him to the sharks." Wang Xiaodong shuddered inwardly and immediately became more cautious. He knew that the red-haired brat in front of him had a point. If they really acted against him in the vast sea, he was afraid that he would die a wrongful death. "Don't act recklessly. I've taken your photos and sent them to my family. If I encounter any danger, you'll be the suspect." Hearing Wang Xiaodong's guilty conscience, Fire Devil let out a strange laugh and looked at Zhu Long, asking, "Boss Zhu Long, is that brat surnamed Tang coming or not? There's still more than 20 minutes left according to the agreed time. If he can't arrive on time, I think we shouldn't wait for that burdensome brat." Zhu Long grunted twice and didn't answer Fire Devil. He didn't want to wait for that arrogant and reckless guy. But it was an order from his immediate superior, Duan Mulin, after all, so he didn't dare to easily abandon Tan Xiu. The hot and beautiful Electro Lady had long purple hair draped over her shoulders. Her sharp nails were dyed purple, and her clothes were also purple, making her look as cool as a purple lightning bolt. A smile appeared on her beautiful face as she said, "It's really rare to see someone who can make Boss Zhu Long so angry in this world. I'm a bit interested in that guy. If he's handsome, I might as well take him to my harem." Fire Devil gave a thumbs up and praised, "Electro Lady, I'll support you in spirit. I hope this brat can enter your eyes and enjoy all the blessings in the world." Electro Lady twisted her slender waist and winked at Fire Devil, giggling. "Since it's a blessing in love, why don't you enjoy it, Fire Devil?" Fire Devil suddenly shuddered and stepped back half a meter. He waved his hand and said, Don't. I don't have that kind of luck. I don't have the fortune to enjoy it." "Coward." Electro Lady rolled her eyes and grumbled snappily. Suddenly, her expression changed and a pleasantly surprised look appeared on her beautiful face. She pointed at a man who was strolling leisurely in the distance and smilingly said, "Fire Demon, since you're such a coward, then this old lady will let you go. My new target is here. What a handsome little guy. Just looking at him makes my heart itch. Boss Zhu Long, give me 20 minutes, I'll definitely make that handsome guy kneel down before me before we set off." "You are not allowed to go," Zhu Long shouted in a low voice with a gloomy face. Electro Lady stared blankly for a moment before she resentfully snorted. She knew Zhu Long's character. He was very cautious before he carried out a mission and was very strict with his team members. What a pity. She secretly sighed inwardly, but she tried her best to remember that handsome face. She hoped that she could meet him again in the future and then display her unique womanly charm to capture his heart. However, to her surprise, the handsome guy in her eyes actually walked directly toward their direction and even stopped at the shore. Could he be the guy who provoked Zhu Long's boss and was called a reckless bastard? Tan Xiu glanced at Zhu Long before his eyes swept over the people on the bow and immediately said, "I'm not late, am I, Zhu Long?" "Humph." Zhu Long coldly snorted and directly turned his head to the side. Fire Devil observed Tan Xiu a few times and then immediately showed a warm smile. He waved to Tan Xiu and smilingly said, "You must be brother Tan Xiu, right? Welcome, welcome, welcome to our voyage of death. I'm Fire Devil, this one in purple is Electro Lady, and the one in light blue is Aqua Babe. That's right, I must solemnly introduce Electro Lady to you again. She's the goddess in the minds of all men, and she likes a handsome young man like you. Shut up. Electro Lady angrily shouted and waved her hand at Fire Devil. Seeing that Fire Devil was scared and hurriedly retreated, she then put on a bright smile and looked at Tan Xiu. You're Tan Xiu, right? Don't listen to that coward Fire Devil's nonsense. I'm very glad that you can join us. We'll have to rely on you to protect us weak women when we get there in the future. Well said. Tan Xiu calmly replied and then boarded the fishing boat. Electro Lady came to Tan Xiu's side. Although her every frown and smile showed her charm, Tan Xiu didn't care at all. Of course, if it were any other man, they would have long been bewitched by her. But who was Tan Xiu? He was a supreme powerhouse who once stood at the peak of the immortal world. Let alone Electro Lady, even the enchanting demoness of the 9 heavens enchantress couldn't bewitch him. Alright, let's go. Zhu Long threw a stiff sentence and turned to walk into the cabin. The fishing boat wasn't very big, but it could be regarded as an ordinary ship for sea operation. Usually, a dozen people would go fishing at sea and return with a full load almost every time. But now, there were only 4 crew members on this fishing boat, including the owner of the fishing boat, Wang Xiaodong. They hoisted the sails and set sail. The speed of the fishing boat wasn't very fast, but it still gradually disappeared from the port on the rippling blue sea. After sailing for a whole day, they sailed into the Strait of Malacca the next day. Although the entire strait was 1,080 kilometers long, with the southeastern strait connecting the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean, the 3-star vestige was located at the junction. Since the location was relatively clear, it didn't take long for the fishing boat to approach a small island. Huh. That's strange. I've come here a few times with the fishing boats of my elders and also landed on this island. But this place is rarely visited by people, and sometimes there's not even a single person. How come so many ships are docked here today? Standing on the bow deck, Wang Xiaodong was surprised to see more than a dozen ships of various models in front of him. Some of these ships were yachts, passenger ships, and even cargo ships. There was no fishing boat at all. Zhu Long, carrying his military travel bag, came to Wang Xiaodong's side and said, "Wait for us here. If we don't come back from the island in 5 days, you don't need to wait anymore and immediately set sail back. Remember, don't clash with the people on the other ships and don't easily communicate with them." Why? Wang Xiaodong was confused. Those people are likely to have evil thoughts toward you if we can't come back alive. Zhu Long sneered. Wang Xiaodong shuddered inwardly. With his keen senses, he saw 2 black men holding guns on a nearby passenger ship, coldly looking in their direction. Guns. Who the hell are these people? How dare he hold a gun in front of everyone? Is this an underground organization's gathering? In a flash, he secretly made up his mind that he would give up the money he hadn't gotten yet. After Zhu Long left them, he would immediately return. After all, money was important, but it was not worth mentioning compared to his life. Tan Xiu was the last to disembark. He glanced at the slightly pale Wang Xiaodong, who was secretly looking at the gun-wielding black men. Tan Xiu indifferently said, "If you sneak away after we leave because you're afraid, I'm afraid you'll be in more trouble. After all, it's fine if we die here. But once we go back, we'll be able to find you even if you run to the ends of the earth." Wang Xiaodong's heart instantly fell into an ice cave. He looked at Tan Xiu's cold eyes and squeezed out a smile, saying, "I know what to do, Mr. Tang." Tan Xiu patted his shoulder and then suddenly whispered in his ear, "That Zhu Long fella is too arrogant and doesn't want to talk to you, but I can tell you something. As a matter of fact, we're special members of the state who were ordered to carry out a secret mission. Once we do a good job, our country will reap great benefits. So even if it's not for you, you must think about our country. People of the state." Wang Xiaodong looked at Tan Xiu in shock, and a monstrous wave was set off inside his heart. At this moment, he realized the identity of Tan Xiu, Zhu Long, and the others. Even if they were not the special forces of the state army, they should be secret agents. I'm actually working for this kind of people. Wang Xiaodong suddenly felt a bit proud. He looked at Tan Xiu, who had jumped to the shore, and loudly said, "I'll be waiting for you, Mr. Tang. Also, I don't want the money later. It's all for the country." "Well done. You're a real man." Tan Xiu turned around and gave a thumbs up to Wang Xiaodong, and then chased after Zhu Long and the others. In fact, Zhu Long and the other three clearly heard the conversation between Tan Xiu and Wang Xiaodong. All of them were ability users, and their hearing was 10 times better than ordinary people. Although they were a bit annoyed that Tan Xiu revealed that they were people of the state, they also realized that Tan Xiu's communication with Wang Xiaodong was to prevent the latter from leaving and abandoning them here. This guy's mind is very meticulous. Even though Zhu Long didn't like Tan Xiu, he couldn't help but praise him inwardly. The 5 of them carried their simple luggage and walked along a bare path into the island. There were very few plants on this island, and it was difficult to see any big trees as far as the eye could see. There was only a layer of green vegetation growing in the crevices of rocks and damp places. After walking for a few kilometers, Tang Xiu then saw a tent in the distance, with soldiers wearing military uniforms of different colors and styles, as well as military ranks of different countries. The surrounding area was completely sealed off. Tan Xiu also saw the military uniforms worn by the Chinese soldiers. Chapter 778. According to what Tan Xiu knew, there were a total of 10 countries qualified to explore the 3-star vestige this time, and they were also the top 10 strongest countries in the world. Therefore, only 50 people could enter the 3-star vestige. Tan Xiu didn't know the specific abilities of the people sent by each country. "Hello, I'm Gao Hongxing, China's commander stationed in Haiben Island. May I ask which one of you is Captain Zhu Long?" A middle-aged man walked out of the olive-green tent with 2 officers and strode toward the 5 people. Zhu Long saluted and said, "I'm Zhu Long, the captain of this 3-star vestige exploration." "You're finally here," said Gao Hongxing with a smile. "Tomorrow is the joint opening of the 3-star vestige, and people from other countries have already arrived. Come with me. Your equipment is ready and I'll hand it over to you later. My mission is more than half completed." Zhu Long nodded and didn't introduce Tan Xiu's group of 4 as he followed Gao Hongxing into the military tent. The military tent was very spacious, with 7 or 8 soldiers in military uniforms sitting in front of a row of LCD screens, watching the images on them. On the ground on one side were 5 bulging military bags, apparently containing a lot of things. Zhu Long didn't stand on ceremony with Gao Hongxing and strode to one of the military bags. He quickly opened it and poured out everything inside. After carefully checking it, he nodded with satisfaction and said, "Everything is here." "Sorry for troubling you, Commander Gao. I'm just following orders, Captain Zhu. You don't need to be so polite." Gao Hongxing shook his head and smiled. "Also, if you have any other requests before you set off, feel free to ask. We'll try our best to satisfy you." "No." Just as Zhu Long spat out a word, he was interrupted by Tan Xiu's voice. Zhu Long's expression turned a bit ugly in an instant. Tan Xiu ignored Zhu Long and looked at Gao Hongxing instead, asking, "I have a request, Commander Gao. I hope you can help me with it." Gao Hongxing looked at Tan Xiu with a surprised expression and nodded. "Just tell me if you have any questions." "I didn't see any military ships when we came here," said Tan Xiu. "They should have been transported by plane, right? Once we come out of the 3-star vestige, will you be responsible for sending us back?" "We did come here by helicopter." Gao Hongxing shook his head and said, "Our mission is to be stationed here all year round to seal the 3-star vestige together with the soldiers of other countries. We don't have the authority to mobilize the helicopter, so we can't send you back." "In that case, I hope you can send someone to the coast to temporarily detain the owner of the fishing boat who sent us here, said Tan Xiu. Otherwise, once he and his crew leave, we won't be able to return. If the country sends someone to pick us up, it will waste a lot of time. Gao Hongxing smiled and said, leave this kind of small matter to me. Zhu Long looked at Tan Xiu and sneered, while Fire Demon looked at Tan Xiu with contempt. Even Electro Lady felt that Tan Xiu was making a mountain out of a molehill. Among the crowd, only Aquababe frowned and looked at Tan Xiu thoughtfully. Tan Xiu, you seem to be very concerned about whether you can go back as soon as possible? Asked Aquababe all of a sudden. Tan Xiu glanced at her and indifferently said, indeed. I really want to leave this place as soon as possible and go back to handle other things. Aquababe didn't speak again and just nodded gently before shifting her gaze elsewhere. Zhu Long, who knew Aquababe, looked at her with a surprised expression and slightly furrowed his brows. Gao Hongxing seemed to be aware that the atmosphere at the moment was a bit off. Whether it was Zhu Long, Fire Demon, Aquababe, Electro Lady, or Tan Xiu, all of them had an inexplicable sense of distance. However, he was too lazy to get involved in the affairs of the five-man team and just seriously said, your single tent is next door. Your names are posted on the tent chain. Stay there first and I'll personally take you to the submarine's parking place tomorrow morning. A submarine? Tan Xiu's expression moved. Although he knew that the three-star vestige was deep in the sea, he didn't expect that it would be a submarine that would send them there. He was quite interested in those big iron lumps at the bottom of the sea. After all, this kind of technological weapon was absolutely an indispensable weapon in the sea war. After each of them carried a military bag and walked out of the tent, Tan Xiu released his spiritual sense and instantly saw all the scenery and people within a radius of 300 to 400 meters. However, he still couldn't tell which people from other countries would enter the seabed to explore the three-star vestige. However, he easily found his own military tent. Tan Xiu, I'm scared to sleep alone at night. Can you? Electro Lady swayed her slender waist and slowly came to Tan Xiu's side with a longing look in her eyes. Tan Xiu raised his arm and waved. Don't play those little tricks with me. You're obviously still a virgin, yet you still want to show such an appearance. If I were to control you and take your body, I'm afraid you'd want to kill me, no? Electro Lady, don't do this kind of boring thing again. It's better to conserve your energy and adjust yourself to the best state before entering the three-star vestige. Electro Lady's expression greatly changed. She looked at Tan Xiu with dread in her eyes. She had some contempt for Tan Xiu before, but his performance at this moment was not that of a hothead who didn't know anything. Tan Xiu no longer paid attention to Electro Lady and went straight into the military tent. He opened the military bag and looked at the things inside. A Mitsubishi Army knife, a mini telescope, a lighter, and a box of matches, as well as a diving suit, an oxygen mask, compressed biscuits, and water. The last thing turned out to be a mini pistol. This gun doesn't have a clip. Tan Xiu frowned and carefully observed it for a long time. Only then did he find that it really didn't have a clip, but there was something like a cell phone battery inside. Since he couldn't figure out the gun situation, Tan Xiu didn't have the mood to experiment. Except for the diving suit and the oxygen mask, which were left in the military bag, everything else was put into the interspatial ring. Then, he directly sat cross-legged and began to adjust his state. Outside the tent, Aquababe gently came to Electro Lady's side. Watching her constantly changing expression, she softly said, I don't know his true ability, but he's the only one who can give me a threatening feeling. I don't know why I have such a feeling, but I'll never look down on him. Electro Lady furrowed her brows and angrily glared at the military tent where Tan Xiu was. She then turned her head and angrily said, who knows if that guy is just putting on an act or not? A threatening feeling? Why can't I feel it? I think Boss Zhu Long is right. He's just an arrogant and unruly bastard who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Just wait and see, Aquababe. Wait until we enter the three-star vestige, he'll cry. Aquababe's expression was a bit solemn. She quickly glanced around and shook her head. Electro Lady, this is actually the second thing I'm worried about. Haven't you noticed? We haven't seen anyone from other countries since we came here. Someone should have come to provoke them according to their usual style. Electro Lady's heart sank. She looked around and indeed didn't find anyone from other countries who entered the 3-star vestige. She immediately nodded and said with a solemn expression, "That's right. We must be vigilant." The next day, after Tan Xiu came out of the military tent, he saw Zhu Long and the others sitting together with a hand-drawn drawing in front of them and talking in a low voice. Tan Xiu walked over and the four of them didn't avoid him and continued to talk. "We don't know what's behind the fine steel door, nor do we know if there's any danger inside. So, look for the switch as much as possible. Remember, we must find the monitoring room as much as possible. As long as we can find the monitoring room, we can clearly see the situation inside the vestige. It's more suitable for us to act under such circumstances. Also, beware of the people from other countries. Even if they take the initiative to express goodwill, we must keep a distance from them. Once we enter the vestige, the danger we'll face will not only be inside, but also the experts from other countries who will enter with us." Sitting cross-legged between Fire Devil and Aqua Babe, Tan Xiu looked at the hand-drawn map and asked, "Is this the map of the 3-star vestige?" Although Zhu Long didn't like Tan Xiu was, after all, a Chinese national. In order to let Tan Xiu live longer, he explained, "The 3-star vestige here has been opened once before. Every country sent a large number of people to enter, but only one person came out alive. That person was a martial arts expert of our country. Unfortunately, he was seriously injured when he escaped and only woke up for a while on the 3rd day before he passed away. This map was brought out by him. Have you figured out how big the 3-star vestige is?" asked Tan Xiu. It's said that this map is only a very small area in the vestige, probably less than 1/10 of it. Zhu Long shook his head. But even such a small piece of land is as big as a dozen football fields. Tan Xiu's expression shifted and he glanced at the northeast direction. Then, he slowly said, "Perhaps we need to double the danger of entering the 3-star vestige this time." Fire Devil raised his hand to stroke his red hair and disdainfully said, "Don't be an alarmist, Tan Xiu. It may be dangerous for you, but it's not worth mentioning to us. Don't pretend to be a big shot if you're afraid. Just follow us and I'll protect you." Tan Xiu thought for a moment and nodded. "I'll follow you in the early stage of entering the 3-star vestige. I'll leave alone after I solve some of the dangers. Suit yourself." It was Zhu Long who replied to Tan Xiu with an unfriendly tone. He felt that Tan Xiu was afraid. Once they entered the vestige and encountered all kinds of dangers, he wouldn't dare to talk about leaving the team anymore. Chapter 779. It was noon. Along with a hurried whistle coming from the vicinity, Gao Hongxing, the commander of the Chinese garrison, strode over from the distance. After approaching the 5 people, he said with a solemn face, "The teams from various countries have begun to assemble. The destination is the East Coast, and the submarine is already waiting there." "Which country does the submarine belong to, Commander Gao?" asked Zhu Long. "The M nation," answered Gao Hongxing. "But the soldiers from various countries are following the submarine, so it's absolutely impossible for the M nation to do anything to it." Zhu Long slowly nodded and said, "Enough benefits will make people lose their minds. The things inside the 3-star vestige will also drive many people crazy. Commander Gao, I hope you pay attention to your safety up there and keep in touch with the domestic side. Our country's warships are stationed 150 nautical miles away," said Gao Hongxing with a grin. "There are also many submarines lurking in the depths of the seabed. Our Southern Army is also conducting military exercises in the South China Sea. Unless the leaders of other countries lose their minds, no one will dare to act rashly. However, I'll take your warning seriously. Tan Shio's group of 5 was escorted by dozens of military soldiers and quickly arrived at the destination. When they arrived at the coastline, Tan Shio's group of 5 finally saw the members from the other countries. Huh? Tang Shio's eyes swept over the 5 members of the Japanese team with a look of surprise on his face. Never once did he expect that he would see 2 acquaintances among the 5 members of the Japanese team. He was only a bit surprised to see Kawako Yamamoto, but seeing Ching Shuame was far beyond his expectation. At this moment, Kawako and Ching Shuame also saw Tan Shio. Kawako was still fine since she couldn't expose her relationship with Tan Shio, so she only made a very subtle gesture to show her respect, whereas Ching Shuame quickly lowered her head with a flustered look flashing in her eyes. Tan Shio knew that Ching Shuame had gone missing 6 months ago, causing her younger sister, Ching Yannan, to be bullied miserably at home. Back then, he was sure that Ching Shuame's life was not in danger, but that she was carrying out some kind of secret mission. Now that he saw her, Tan Shio finally confirmed his judgment. Tan Shio retracted his gaze and did not greet them. Instead, he obediently followed behind Zhu Long and the other 3. He watched as Gao Hongxing communicated with a few foreign men. The 5 of them formed a group and stood near the members of the other countries. Log in. At 12:00 sharp, a burly white man shouted in a deep voice. Immediately, 50 members from 10 countries entered the submarine. Under the guidance of the people inside, they came to the interior of the submarine. Half an hour later, the submarine stopped somewhere at the bottom of the sea. As the exit docked with a certain entrance of the ruins, 50 members from various countries finally entered the ruins through the docking channel. It's spectacular and magical. We should be several hundred meters deep in the ocean right now, but we can't feel any pressure at all. If I'm not mistaken, there must be an anti-gravity device inside. Fire Devil, still carrying his bird cage in his hand and carrying a military bag on his back, sighed with emotion. Tan Shio nodded lightly. After passing through the channel, he saw what seemed to be a small city in front of him. There were buildings of various shapes and sizes, ranging from hundreds of meters high to tens of meters low. The overall plan was perfect. However, there seemed to be ripples surging in the air, making the buildings look blurry and not very real. That's a mirage, a scene simulated by technology. Zhu Long glanced at Tan Shio and lightly said. Tan Shio was taken aback. When he instantly released his spiritual sense and probed ahead, he found that those were all virtual scenes. Behind the virtual scene were passages that extended in all directions. These passages extended into the distance, and it was impossible to know where they ended. Don't waste time. Let's go in first. When the 5 of them passed through the vague air fluctuations and stood in front of dozens of passages, Zhu Long found that the members of the other countries had locked onto a passage and quickly disappeared into it. He immediately said in a deep voice. Which one shall we choose, Chief Zhu Long? Asked Fire Devil. Look for the entrance marked 3 in the passage, said Zhu Long. We'll be able to correctly follow the route marked on the map if we follow the footsteps of our country. Over there. Tan Shio pointed to a passage on the left and strode over. Zhu Long stared blankly for a moment before an angry look appeared on his face. He hesitated for a moment and then followed. When the 5 of them came to the entrance of the passage, they found a 3 engraved on one side of the steel wall. How did you know? A glint flashed in Zhu Long's eyes as he stared at Tan Shio and asked. Tan Shio couldn't tell Zhu Long what he observed with his spiritual sense, so he made up a lie. When I saw Duan Mulin, I chatted with him and he told me about it. I just judged that it should be here. That's right, I have a special ability that's quite strong in terms of perception. Perception. Zhu Long stared blankly and instantly understood why Tan Shio could get the qualification to explore the 3-star vestige. Having a superhuman perception would be of great help when encountering danger. It would even give him an advantage when exploring the vestige. After the 5 of them passed through the passage that was hundreds of meters long, they saw the steel space inside. It was just like those foreign sci-fi blockbusters. There were a lot of high-tech products in the steel space, including colorful indicator lights, various unintelligible symbols, and some virtual three-dimensional pictures. Inside this steel space, there were a lot of steel buildings connected to the roads, and the doors of each building were tightly closed. There are 2 robots 50 meters ahead. Those 2 robots were known as intelligent robots, and they were very aggressive. According to the people who escaped from here, half of them were shot and killed by these 2 robots after they entered this place. Zhulong knitted his brows tightly as his gaze swept across the 2 robots. His mind was silently pondering how to get past them easily. After all, they had to pass through this passage if they wanted to go deeper. I have an idea, but I don't know if it's feasible, said Tan Xiu. You have an idea? Zhulong frowned. Tell me about it. This robot is, after all, programmed, said Tang Xiu. Even if these 2 are intelligent robots, they will lose their mobility as long as their internal structure is destroyed. Aquababe's ability should be able to control water, right? As long as we pour water on these 2 robots and let Electrolady release lightning to destroy them, we should be able to cause internal problems. Water? Electricity? Zhulong's eyes lit up and he immediately clapped and exclaimed in admiration, that's right. Water can conduct electricity, so how can it flow into the robot's internal structure? Even if the robot's internal structure is waterproof, electric current can still cause damage. Aquababe, Electrolady, you 2 try it. Aquababe took a few steps forward and drew a circle in midair with her arms. Suddenly, the water attribute in the air continued to condense. In just a short moment, a round water millstone was formed. As she waved her arms, the millstone turned into 2 water dragons that rushed towards the 2 robots standing next to the wall. Intruder detected. No marks. Enemy determined. Shoot! The voice came out from the 2 robots' mouths at the same time. Along with their activation, 2 lasers shot out from their configured weapons and instantly pierced through the 2 water dragons. Whoosh! The water dragons didn't receive much interference and directly hit the 2 robots. As they were repelled a few steps back, the water directly dispersed above them and drenched them. A chilling light flashed in Electrolady's eyes. She flicked her fingers and formed an electric current that continuously shot toward the 2 robots. The moment the electric current hit the robots, sparks splashed everywhere. The 2 robots that shot the lasers suddenly issued a rumbling sound and black smoke. It's done. Finally, the 2 robots fell to the ground and the activation program was extinguished. A satisfied look appeared on Zhulong's face. He turned to look at Tan Xiu and said, You are not bad. At least you have a brain. Tan Xiu blushed with shame. He really couldn't tell that Zhulong was praising him. Aquababe's eyes flashed with an extraordinary splendor as she whispered, actually, the combination of water and electricity can indeed create a special effect. The principle is very simple and many people know about it, but we never thought about it. Tan Xiu is very powerful. I'm sure we'll get a good harvest if he's in our team. Don't talk too much, Aquababe, said Fire Devil without being salty nor light. Besides, everyone has their own aspirations. We have no right to interfere if he wants to stay or leave. Aquababe glanced at Fire Devil with dissatisfaction and lowered her head without saying anything. The 5 of them continued to move forward. As they approached the door of the first building, Zhulong said, There's nothing special in the 16 rooms on both sides in front. We need to start searching from the 17th room. If there's nothing special, we'll pass through the large number of steel statues in front and go straight to the door inside. Wait a minute. Tan Xiu strode to the side of the 2 robots. He pulled out the Mitsubishi Army knife and began to dissect them along the gaps between the robots. Soon after, he took out 2 glittering and translucent crystals from the 2 robots and threw one to Zhulong. He took the other one and said, This thing has great research value. If our country's researchers can thoroughly study this energy stone, our country's scientific and technological level will have a qualitative leap in the future. After saying that, he hesitated for a moment before he took out a cigarette and lit it up. After taking 2 puffs, he continued, I think it's necessary to study the internal motherboards and energy circuits of these 2 robots. You can take the decomposed materials from one of them and bring it back when you leave this place. That makes sense. Even if Zhu Long was dissatisfied with Tan Xiu, his dissatisfaction was getting less and less at the moment. Chapter 780. Zhu Long originally thought that his immediate superior's decision to send Tan Xiu to their team was simply a farce. Such a person of little value would only affect the team's overall strength and wouldn't play any role. But these 2 ideas not only saved them a lot of trouble but also made them realize that they had gained something. However, he was afraid that Tan Xiu would become arrogant and conceited, so he just flatly agreed with him and put the robot parts into the military bag. Due to the weight issue, he discussed with Fire Devil for a while and decided to hide the military bag containing the robot parts in a hidden corner of the corridor until they returned. Let's move forward. Zhu Long took a deep breath and took the lead to walk inside. At this moment, he had cautiously taken out the mini pistol and coldly glanced around. Even the slightest movement could arouse his vigilance. A large number of steel-cast statues were placed in the spacious hall ahead. The moment Tan Xiu's eyes fell on those statues, his expression immediately changed and a strange look appeared in his eyes. These statues seemed to be placed randomly, but those who were proficient in arrays could easily see that the placement of all the statues was very particular and even formed a simple array. It was a maze array. As long as someone entered these statues, they would be lost in the array unless they were extremely lucky and happened to take the right route. Of course, the probability of such a thing happening was even smaller than winning 5 million yuan in the lottery. Technology. Array. The combination of the products of these 2 different civilizations shows that the civilization of the race that left behind this 3-star vestige has reached a very high level. Though it's still far from those advanced civilizations, it's still countless times higher than Earth's civilization. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and looked at Zhu Long, who was about to enter the maze array. He instantly grabbed his arm and said in a deep voice, "Let me lead the way since the vestige is full of dangers." Sometimes, it's quite useful to have a strong perception and be able to sense danger in advance. Zhu Long struggled hard the moment Tan Xiu grabbed his arm. What shocked him was that he could easily get rid of it if an ordinary person grabbed him. But Tan Xiu's hand was like an iron clamp that made his arm ache faintly when he struggled. Such power. Zhu Long sighed inwardly and nodded silently, allowing Tan Xiu to walk in front. Fire Devil approached Zhu Long and looked at Tan Xiu's back, asking in a low voice, "Boss Zhu Long, can this kid do it?" "We don't need cannon fodder." Zhu Long said, "We'll know after we walk around. Let's not be too far away from him. If there's any danger ahead, we'll immediately save him." In front. Tan Xiu suddenly came to a halt. He looked at the 4 people behind him and said in a deep voice, "I can sense danger. We seem to have encountered something powerful. Therefore, you must follow behind me and do not fall behind easily. Also, look at my footprints clearly. It's best to follow them." Zhu Long was very cautious, so he nodded heavily after Tan Xiu finished speaking. Electro Lady and Aqua Babe, who never joked in the face of danger, also nodded to indicate that they wouldn't act recklessly. On the other hand, the Fire Demon, who was carrying a military bag and holding a birdcage, had a hint of disdain in his eyes. The space where the statues were placed was very large, about the size of a regular football field. Only a few of these statues were in human form, but most of them were in the form of various wild beasts, such as jackals, wolves, tigers, leopards, eagles, swallows, pigeons, and birds. Huh! Fire Devil was walking at the back of the 5 people. His eyes suddenly flickered and he immediately walked toward a statue a few meters away to the left. The statue looked like an earthworm, but strangely, it had 8 legs. There were many special patterns on its back that were dyed with various colors. "Don't move." At the forefront, Tan Xiu was keenly aware of the fire demon's movement. He turned around and shouted in a low voice as he instantly pounced toward the fire demon. What made him angry was that the position of the statue in front of him instantly changed after he left the correct path of the array. As his footsteps came to a halt, his keen eyes looked around and his fist filled with surging power fiercely slammed the ground 3 meters to the left. Boom, layers of ripples appeared in the air as though the space was distorted. In Tan Xiu's sight, the position of the statue was restored to its previous position. It was at this moment that his figure flickered lightning fast and instantly appeared next to the fire demon, who had a dazed expression on his face. Tan Xiu grabbed the fire demon's shoulder and forcefully pulled him back behind Aquababe. What just happened was, the fire demon looked around with a puzzled expression before his eyes finally fell on Tan Xiu next to him. I originally thought that your ability user team was very disciplined and very cautious in this dangerous vestige, said Tan Xiu indifferently. But I didn't expect you to be so arrogant and stupid. You better behave yourself if you don't want to get lost in this place forever. This is the first time, and I won't save you the second time. After saying that, he quickly brushed past Aquababe, Electro Lady, and Zhu Long and returned to the front. Even though Zhu Long and the other two looked puzzled, he still didn't explain. The fire demon's complexion instantly turned red. The strange scene just now made him recall it and immediately gave rise to fear inside. However, Tan Xiu's merciless reprimand made him feel greatly humiliated. If it weren't for what Tan Xiu had just done, he would have slapped Tan Xiu to death. Mind your own business. I can solve it with my own strength even if I encounter a crisis, said the fire demon indignantly. Tan Xiu ignored him and continued to move forward. He had made up his mind that he would never save the fire demon again if he was swayed by his emotions and insisted on deviating from the route he chose. Zhu Long frowned and looked at Tan Xiu's back, asking, "What just happened, Tan Xiu?" "Actually, I have a special ability," said Tan Xiu without looking back. "Well, I actually have a special ability, which is to understand feng shui arrays. This space full of statues has been arranged into an array. Moreover, it's the most troublesome maze array. Unless someone has the strength to break the array with brute force, the chance of survival is minuscule if you don't understand arrays and fall into it." Maze array. Proficient in arrays? Zhu Long's complexion drastically changed and he gasped inwardly. Tan Xiu's words made him faintly feel that this guy was somewhat unfathomable. Electro Lady and Aquababe looked at each other with shocked expressions on their faces. They were all ability users and had a high level of contact with people, so they naturally knew some things about feng shui arrays. It was just that they never expected that Tan Xiu would be proficient in feng shui arrays. Could it be, he's a powerful feng shui master? No wonder. No wonder the great leader, Duan Mulin, actually forced Tang Xiu to join the team. He even agreed to Tang Xiu's excessive requests. Fire Devil's complexion turned ugly at this moment. Tan Xiu, whom he had always despised, had saved him once, which made him feel disgraced. Now, he even had the identity of a feng shui master who was proficient in feng shui arrays. It was hard for him to accept it for a while. 7 or 8 minutes later, Tan Xiu led the 4 people through the statue space and came to a 3-meter-wide passage. Looking at the steel gate in front of them, which completely blocked the passage, Tan Xiu's spiritual sense instantly enveloped the inside. Zhu Long looked at Tan Xiu with a complicated expression. He understood that it was all thanks to Tan Xiu that everyone could come here so easily. It must be noted that nearly 100 people from China came to the 3-star vestige last time, but they only made it this far. Less than 20 people made it here alive, and only one person was lucky enough to pass through the statue's space and the robot's attack and escaped with serious injuries. Therefore, his contempt for Tan Xiu had completely disappeared. Although he thought that Tan Xiu's combat power was not good, these special abilities were what they needed more. "Tan Xiu, it's this gate. If we want to move forward, we must find a way to open this gate. Otherwise, we won't gain much from coming here." Zhu Long's eyes flickered, hoping that Tan Xiu could find a way to open the gate. Tan Xiu smiled indifferently. Through the observation of his spiritual sense, he had already found a way to open the steel gate. However, in order not to expose his special abilities, he deliberately looked around and finally stopped in front of some patterns engraved on the steel wall. It was a dragon-shaped pattern. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell that the dragon was missing an eye. To be precise, it was missing an eyeball. Under the gaze of Zhu Long and the other three, Tan Xiu reached out and pressed the missing eyeball. Kacha, along with a mechanical sound, the tightly stitched steel gate slowly split open from the middle and a wide corridor appeared in front of everyone. Zhu Long and the others were overjoyed and looked at Tan Xiu with a bit of admiration in their eyes. However, when they saw the situation in the corridor inside, the joy on their faces instantly froze. Subconsciously, they even retreated a few steps back like snakes or scorpions blocking their way, as though they were facing a formidable enemy. Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows as he looked at the robots on both sides of the corridor. After a careful count, he found that there were 18 robots in the tens of meters long corridor ahead. At the foot of each robot was a robot dog. Electro Lady, Aqua Babe, continue. Tan Xiu dodged to the side with a relatively calm expression. Electro Lady and Aqua Babe exchanged glances and nodded to each other. Then, one condensed a water dragon, while the other released lightning and quickly rushed toward the robots. Buzz, 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 the 18 robots and 18 robot dogs were activated with sparks splashing in all directions and quickly stopped. Choking black smoke drifted in the corridor. Tan Xiu paced a few steps forward and lightly said, "Let's keep moving forward. If my guess is correct, there should be something interesting ahead." Chapter 781. At the end of the steel passageway was a dreamlike special space with colorful virtual images decorating it like a sci-fi world. The most eye-catching thing was the strange subtitles that surged like waves on the walls of the space. The words on the blue subtitles didn't belong to any language on Earth. Flames pierced through the light curtain and rushed towards several figures like violent fire dragons. Behind the dozen or so fire dragons, two male twins were forming hand seals and waving their wands, trying to incinerate the figures. Roar, the three beast men were covered in thick fur, and their eyes shone with a lush green light. Their sharp claws seemed to be able to tear the space apart, and a violent force covered the sky and the earth as it pressed forward, forcibly withstanding the dozen or so fire dragons' attacks. Behind them, two orcs covered in wounds were lying on the ground, barely breathing. There was a bull-sized hole in their abdomen with a large amount of blood flowing out. Their vitality was gradually drained away along with the blood. Interesting. It's people from both Country BX and Country YDL. Zhu Long hid behind a layer of light curtain and quietly watched the battle in the distance. Behind him, Aqua Babe and Electro Lady were vigilant, staring at the two sides of the battle. Fire Demon's expression was a little solemn. His eyes lingered on the twin men, silently measuring the gap between him and them. He was also a fire elemental ability user and could manipulate flames, but compared to the two people in front of him, he found that he couldn't compare at all. Tan Xiu's focus was not on the two sides of the battle, but the crystal ball next to a Country BX woman. The crystal ball was crystal clear, and there was a bolt of lightning shuttling inside. Tan Xiu clearly saw that it wasn't a bolt of lightning that was sealed in the crystal ball, but a golden bug the size of a fingernail. Suddenly, Tan Xiu's expression shifted because he found another passage entrance and someone else had entered it. Because he had met them outside, Tan Xiu knew that they were from Country Y. Laser beams shot out from the guns in the hands of the 5 people from Country Y. They accurately hit the 2 fire elemental ability users and the 3 orcs from Country Y. Bastard. Damn it. Both sides in the battle were caught off guard. One of the BX twin fire ability users died instantly as his head was pierced through. The other used his arm to block the attack in time, but he also paid the price of his arm. As for the 3 beast men, 2 of them were directly shot dead, while the other one had his chest pierced. He staggered back a dozen steps before falling beside his companion. Kill them all. 5 arcanists from Country Y held laser guns and shot rapidly as they pounced on both sides. Soon, all 5 orcs from Country YDL were dead, and the remaining fire arcanist from Country BX was also besieged and killed. Behind the screen, Zhu Long lowered his voice and said, "I'm afraid the remaining arcanist from BX won't be able to hold on for long. I really didn't expect that not long after we entered the 3-star vestige, members of 2 countries would die here." Electro Lady said in a deep voice, "Die. The more of them die, the less danger we'll be in. It's a pity that the BX and YDL people are too useless, else we'll be able to reap the benefits when they fight to the death with Country Y. It'll be even more perfect if someone from another country comes." Whoosh! 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 As Electrolady's voice faded away, 3 distressed figures rushed in from one of the passageways. They were none other than Kawako from Japan, a middle-aged Japanese man, and the heavily injured Ching Shueme. Tan Shio's expression slightly changed. He couldn't watch Kawako and Ching Shueme die here. Just as he was about to act, 4 figures flashed lightning fast from the passageway they had just rushed out. Although the 4 of them were also injured, their injuries weren't serious. Country D. Zhu Long's expression shifted and a gloating look appeared on his face. Nearly every Chinese hated the Japanese for the enmity between China and Japan. At this moment, seeing the last 3 people from Japan in such a distressed state, he secretly hoped that the battle inside would be more intense. It would be best if all the Japanese people would die. The 5 people from Japan joined forces and finally killed the BX woman before surrounding the crystal ball. They were no longer in a hurry to act and just watched the 3 people from Japan and the 4 people from Country D break in, secretly guarding against them. "Boss!" A voice rose inside Tan Shio's heart. Tan Shio knew that Kawako had sensed him through the connection between them. However, he didn't rush to appear and instead transmitted his thoughts through the connection, contact the people from Country Y and attack the people from Country D. Kawako's expression shifted and she vaguely glanced at the direction of Tan Shio's group. She immediately spoke to the 5 people from Country Y in fluent English, "Friends from Country Y, this 3-star vestige is fraught with dangers and every force is hostile to each other. But we've suffered heavy losses, so I'm afraid we'll be annihilated if any force attacks us. Therefore, we're willing to form an alliance with you as long as you help us take revenge. We'll share some of the good stuff we got in the vestige with you after we deal with the other forces. For example, this energy board in my hand." Having said that, she took out a black energy board the size of a cell phone battery from her pocket and shook it at the 5 people from Country Y. The expressions of the 4 people from Country D fell. If they were facing a single country, they would still have the confidence to fight. However, if they were facing 2 countries at the same time, they knew that even if they won, they would have to pay a heavy price. Not to mention that they had already lost 1 person. Moravidal, the captain of Country D's team, wore a gloomy expression at the moment. He shot a murderous look at Kawako and immediately spoke to the 5 people from Country Y in a deep voice, "JC, we're old friends and we know each other's capabilities. Even if you form an alliance, I'm afraid you'll have to pay a heavy price to get rid of us. It's better for both sides to form an alliance and annihilate these Japanese guys first before we divide the spoils of war. There are a lot of treasures in this 3-star vestige, and it's very difficult for any country to monopolize them all. It's better for both sides to cooperate and become the final winner." The 5 people from Country Y exchanged glances and discussed in a low voice. Finally, they looked at Moravidal and said, "These 3 Japanese guys are indeed nothing to worry about. We accept your suggestion, but we have a request." "What is it?" Moravidal was delighted. "To prove your sincerity, I hope you can act first." JC, the captain of Country Y's team, said in a deep voice, "We'll act immediately as long as you can kill any one of them. Else, we'd rather cooperate with these 3 Japanese guys to deal with you." Moravidal's expression slightly changed. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said, "If that's the case, then we'll act first." After having said that, As soon as he issued the order, the 4 people flashed toward Kawako's group of 3 lightning fast. Tan Shio, who was hiding behind the light screen, felt helpless upon hearing JC and Morovidal's words. He even cursed JC and the other 4 people from Country Y inwardly for being brainless. If it were him, he would definitely choose Japan instead of Country D. Because, once they joined forces with Country D and eliminated the Japanese people, they would still be left with a strong enemy. It was better to contact the weak to contend with the other powerhouses and finally eliminate the weak Japanese. Captain Zhu Long, you 4 continue to hide here. I must save the Japanese people. Don't ask me for the reason. It won't be too late for you to appear after I've dealt with those people. Having said that, he didn't give Zhu Long any time to speak and immediately flashed to appear in everyone's line of sight. Furthermore, he acted like a thunderbolt as a violent aura erupted from his body. His fists were like meteors as they fiercely bombarded Morovidal's back, who was caught off guard. Puff, Morovidal was a genetically modified human with the genes of an elephant. Not only did he become very strong, but his defense had also become more powerful. Tang Shio's punch landed on his back, and though he instantly suffered a serious injury, he was still able to retain his life force. The next moment, Tan Shio appeared between the other 2 ability users from Country D. Just as they attacked Kawako's trio, a dagger appeared in Tan Shio's hand out of thin air. He easily kicked the lower ribs of one of the ability users from Country D before stabbing the dagger into the lower ribs of the other. His lightning-fast fist also followed up and hit the other's neck. Crack! The neck of the ability user from Country D was forcibly broken, and his body was easily kicked away by Tan Shio. The 5 ability users from Country Y, who were standing in the distance and watching, had their complexions drastically changed. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that someone would suddenly appear out of nowhere and that the one who helped the 3 people from Japan turned out to be a Chinese brat. Moreover, they were shocked because they didn't expect that Tan Shio's strength would be so powerful. Behind the holographic screen, Zhu Long was furious because of Tan Shio's decision. Even Fire Devil and Electro Lady looked angry. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with Tan Shio's brain. Or did he have a fever? Why didn't he save anyone? Why did he have to save the Japanese? Aquababe's expression was a bit strange. She looked at Tan Shio's vague figure, but a monstrous wave was raised in her heart. Because Tan Shio's figure was too fast, and she could only catch an afterimage with her naked eyes. Her mind was racing and she quickly deduced that if Tan Shio was her enemy, it would be absolutely easy for Tan Shio to kill her. How is this possible? The anger on Zhu Long's face suddenly froze, while Fire Devil's and Electro Lady's angry expressions turned into tongue-tied ones. They watched helplessly as Tan Shio killed one of Country D's experts and severely injured 2 in the blink of an eye. Chapter 782. Zhu Long didn't have a good impression of Tan Shio ever since he first met Tan Shio. On one hand, it was because he didn't understand this guy who was forcibly inserted into the team, and on the other hand, Tan Shio wasn't an ability user. He thought that Tan Shio was just an ordinary person who would become a burden to them once they encountered danger and fought with the enemy. Therefore, he didn't give Tan Shio any face along the way. But, Tan Shio's performance at this moment was so strong that it made his heart tremble. How was this a little bit stronger? A little bit faster? It was as if a big bad wolf had appeared in a flock of sheep. It could not be any more ferocious. Suddenly, Zhu Long felt his cheeks burning. It was as though a pair of invisible slaps had slapped him left and then left. With a guilty conscience, he secretly glanced at Fire Devil and Electro Lady at this moment and found that they were also shocked. Only then did he feel slightly relieved. But just as he was about to retract his gaze, he keenly noticed that Aquababe was looking at him with a strange expression. For a moment, Zhu Long wished he could find a hole to burrow into. He really didn't have the face to see anyone. To cover up his embarrassment, Zhu Long said in a strange voice, "Let's go. Let's do it together. No matter how strong Tan Shio is, we're comrades on the same team. As his voice faded away, his clothes fluttered without any wind and he instantly dashed toward the battlefield. Aquababe followed closely behind him and cast her water attribute special ability. Layers of water waves surged in the air and whizzed forward. Meanwhile, Fire Devil and Electro Lady had also recovered from the shock. Both of them released flames and lightning respectively and sprinted quickly with great momentum. Annihilate. The four of them were very strong. Although they weren't the strongest among the members who participated in the 3-star vestige exploration, they were still among the best. With their attacks, the heavily injured Moravidal was easily killed and the other two were also killed in a short time. At this moment, Kawako's eyes were filled with surprise and admiration as she looked at Tan Shio. Qing Xueme, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. Never in her wildest dreams did she expect that the high school student who needed her help would possess such terrifying strength. This time, she was ordered to infiltrate the island nation because her ability was activated and she was heavily injured during a mission. After receiving treatment and careful guidance from Duan Mulin, the leader of the State Ability Users Bureau, he finally gained the ability to control thick earth. For a secret mission, he hid his identity, changed his appearance, and finally became the right-hand man of a high-level politician in Japan. She and Kawako Yamamoto were not on the same side because the Japanese politician she assisted was at odds with the party supported by the Yamamoto family. If they weren't on the same team, perhaps Kawako wouldn't have saved her life in the previous battle. However, she was very clear about one thing. If she met someone from the kingdom of Huaxia in the ruins and was in danger, even if it meant exposing her identity, she had to help. It was because she knew that if the treasures in the 3-star vestige were to be obtained by the kingdom of Huaxia, it would be very beneficial for them. Tan Shio didn't even glance at Kawako and Qing Xueme. Instead, he looked at JC, the captain of Country Y's team, and indifferently said, "Give me the crystal ball." With a solemn expression, JC looked at Tan Shio and coldly said, "You're very powerful, and I can't even see what ability you have. But do you think we're afraid of you?" "Maybe you won't be afraid if it's just us," said Tan Shio indifferently. "But if we join forces with the three of them, what do you think your chances of surviving are?" Kawako instantly stepped forward and glared at JC with hostility. "That's right. We're destined to be enemies, so we're willing to join forces with our friends from Huaxia. Even if we all die here, we'll drag you down with us." JC's expression instantly turned extremely unsightly. He looked at the crystal ball protected by them in the middle, and then shifted his eyes to Tan Shio and Kawako. Eventually, he discussed with his four companions in a low voice and quickly moved away more than 20 meters. Sneering, Tan Shio came to the front of the crystal ball and found that it was fixed on the 1-meter-high crystal pillar. He immediately reached out to hold it and was about to take it off the pillar. However, his expression changed when he saw that the crystal ball remained motionless even though he had used nearly 80% of his strength. Standing more than 20 meters away, JC sneered and said, "We've just tried, but there's no way to take the crystal ball off the pillar. So what if you're a bit stronger? We'll give it to you, but you won't get anything." Ha ha ha. Tan Shio shot him a cold look and immediately injected his spiritual sense into the crystal ball. He found that there was a very small seal array inside. He directly saw through the mysteries of this seal array and smoothly broke through it. Then, he moved toward the fingernail-sized golden insect inside. "Let me out and I'll serve you for a light year." Its weak intent entangled with Tan Shio's spiritual sense and instantly transmitted back to Tan Shio. Tan Shio quickly communicated with it using his thoughts. "What species are you? What abilities do you have? Why should I believe you? I'm a member of the Star Devourer insect clan. I was sealed in this crystal ball by a powerful exalted immortal. That exalted immortal bullied me because I'm still young and have just obtained my bloodline inheritance, so I haven't mastered any formidable power yet. As long as you let me out, I'll have a way to possess a very powerful ability in a short period of time. Serving you for a light year is the rule of our Star Devourer insect clan to thank our benefactor. I don't lack thugs. Tan Shio directly transmitted his thoughts. The Golden Star Devourer insect was anxious. It had been sealed for countless years, and it didn't even know how long it had been. Now that it had finally met a human who could break the seal and let it escape, if it didn't seize this opportunity, it would be tortured to madness inside. What do you need? No matter what request you have, I can try my best to satisfy you. Tell me, where are you from? Also, which civilization in the universe does this 3-star relic belong to? How did they come to Earth? I'm from the Black Cloud star field, the Porto star system. That's the incubation base of our Star Devourer insect clan and also my hometown. There are many races in the Black Cloud star system, including many advanced civilizations. The fleet that brought me here was the Star Luo Empire's fleet. They were defeated by other civilized nations and became an interstellar vagrant race. After escaping here, the few remaining Star Luo Empire lives hurriedly built this base. They thought they would get a new home, but they didn't expect to be trapped here because they couldn't adapt to Earth's environment. Tan Shio suddenly understood, but he still realized a problem and hurriedly asked, "How long have you been on Earth?" "A wave." "What's a wave?" The Star Devourer insect was anxious. It didn't know the unit of time in this place and wanted to explain but didn't know how to explain. It anxiously circled around countless times and finally sent a thought, nearly an eon. Eon? 3 million years. Tan Shio was referring to the unit of time because some races in the immortal world used eon as a unit of time. However, he never imagined that the Star Luo Empire's battleship would actually come to Earth more than 1,000,000 years ago. At that time, there shouldn't be any humans on Earth, right? I can save you, but you have to sign a contract with me. Also, I need to know how long you're talking about a light year. By the way, our human unit of time is. Through Tan Shio's explanation, the Star Devourer insect finally figured out the unit of time on Earth. The light year it was talking about was actually 2,000 years on Earth. Master-servant contract. Tan Shio quickly signed the contract with the Star Devourer insect. The seal formation inside, which he thought was extremely crude, was easily broken by him. As cracks appeared on the crystal ball, the Star Devourer insect finally rushed out after the crystal ball exploded. It flew happily in this space for a while before landing on Tan Shio's outstretched finger. You'll follow me from now on. Tan Shio said calmly. More than 20 meters away, JC looked at the Star Devourer insect on Tan Shio's finger with his mouth agape. Even when the crystal ball exploded, he didn't feel the slightest joy. Instead, a strong sense of crisis rose in his heart when he looked at the Star Devourer insect. Because he realized that the existence in the crystal ball was this Star Devourer insect, and this Star Devourer insect had already been obtained by Tan Shio. Whoosh! 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 Just as Tan Shio took the Star Devourer insect into his body and let it live on his left finger, 3 figures rushed in from another passage. ELS people. Everyone's expression shifted and their eyes instantly locked on them. The 3 ELS people's complexion drastically changed upon seeing the corpses on the ground. They vigilantly kept a distance from Tan Shio's group, as well as the people from country Y. The bearded leader indifferently said, "If my guess is correct, the members of D, YDL, and BX countries should all be dead, right?" "Yeah, they're all dead," sneered JC. "Did you kill them?" asked the bearded man. JC glanced at Tan Shio and sneered. "How could we have the ability to kill them? They killed each other and eventually perished together." Kawako also glanced at Tan Shio and said, "Yeah, they did perish together." The bearded man didn't believe JC and Kawako's words, but he didn't want to ask any more at the moment. What he needed to do now was to protect himself and the others while facing the 3 forces inside. Tan Shio didn't want to waste any more time here, so he slowly said, "Everyone, since there's no need for us to fight each other, I think we should go our separate ways. There are many good things in this vestige, and it's impossible for any party to monopolize them. There are a total of 12 entrances here, so each of us can choose one. No problem, said JC straightforwardly. Kawako naturally wouldn't refute Tan Shio, so she nodded in agreement. As for the ELS trio, they were already thankful that they weren't besieged by the people from China, Country Y, and Japan, so they naturally had no objection. Chapter 783. The seventh entrance on the left. Just as Tan Shio was about to choose a portal to enter, Star Devourer Insect's voice sounded in his mind. His expression shifted and he quickly asked, "What's inside the seventh entrance?" The main console. Star Devourer Insect had been sealed for countless years, but it had a good understanding of the situation in the entire vestige. It figured out the purpose of these humans coming here through the communication between the experts of various countries. Furthermore, it had been following Tan Shio for 2,000 years, so it naturally wanted to help Tan Shio get the best things. The main console was the central area of the entire vestige. Controlling the operating system of the main console would allow one to easily mobilize the perpetual power of the entire vestige, be it for defense or attack. Tan Shio had seen the interstellar battleships of advanced civilizations, so he naturally knew what the main console represented. Without any hesitation, he didn't immediately rush to the seventh portal on the left. Instead, he turned to look at Zhu Long and lightly said, "We should part ways since we're already here. This vestige is huge and there are too many areas to explore inside. You can choose any portal to enter, while I'll enter the other one." Having witnessed Tan Shio's strength, Zhu Long knew that he would eventually leave the team, so he didn't urge him to stay. He nodded and said, "Be careful and retreat immediately if there's any danger." Tan Shio nodded but didn't directly choose a portal. He watched Zhu Long's group of 4 choose a portal and then his eyes fell on the 3 Japanese people. "Long time no see," Tan Shio calmly said. Qing Xuemei shuddered inwardly and quickly glanced at Kawako and the other middle-aged man. Then, she squeezed out a smile and said, "It's indeed been a long time. You're much more powerful than when we first met." Tan Shio let out a faint smile and looked at Kawako, asking, "Who's this guy?" Kawako pondered for a moment. Suddenly, a sharp dagger appeared in her hand and stabbed the middle-aged man's heart without him noticing. "Why?" The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he desperately clutched his chest and shouted. Kawako sneered and respectfully cupped her fists at Tan Shio. "He's not one of my men, boss. If it wasn't for the temporary team I formed, I would have had some enmity with the force he belongs to." Tan Shio nodded and said with a smile, "Since our paths are different, it's fine to kill them." The middle-aged man looked incredulously at Kawako and Tan Shio and exclaimed, "You called him boss? You?" Kawako sneered and watched him crash to the ground. Then, she asked, "Is Junko also one of your men, boss?" At this moment, Qing Xuemei was stunned by the sudden change in front of her. Never once in her wildest dreams did she expect that Kawako Yamamoto would suddenly attack a member of her team, let alone address Tan Shio as boss. In a flash, she took a few steps back, fearing that Kawako would suddenly attack her. Tan Shio was silent for a moment before he suddenly asked, "Are you carrying out a secret mission, Qing Xuemei?" Qing Xuemei hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, "Yes. My relationship with Kawako must never be known by outsiders," said Tan Shio. "You have 2 choices now. First, kill yourself in front of me. I'll take your corpse out of the vestige and hand it over to your younger sister. Second, pledge allegiance to me. Even if you're facing the country, you can only choose my side in the end. You have 2 choices, choose yourself." "Don't tell me you're not one of the country's men," asked Qing Xuemei angrily. "I'm naturally one of the country's men, but I also belong to myself," said Tan Shio lightly. "If you want to be my man, then you must put my interests first, followed by the mission given by the country." "What do you want me to do?" asked Qing Xuemei. "I don't need you to do anything." Just remember one thing, said Tan Xiao indifferently. What you see and hear must rot in your belly and not be reported to your real superiors after you leave the vestige. Qing Xuemei was silent for half a minute before she slowly said, I promise you. Then leave since you've promised me, said Tan Xiao. I can guarantee that not only will Kawako not harm you in the future, but she can also help you in secret if you need anything during your stay in Japan. Qing Xuemei didn't utter a word. The current Tan Xiao made her dread and even a bit fearful. Kawako will be with me, said Tan Xiao indifferently. Pick a portal and enter it yourself. Escape immediately if you encounter any danger and then come to the 7th portal on the left to find me. Remember, it's best to call your younger sister when it's convenient for you. Qing Xuemei's expression slightly changed and she hurriedly asked, Do you know my younger sister's current situation? How is she? Without your protection, what do you think her situation will be like, said Tan Xiao indifferently. But don't worry. She's already separated from your family and will probably never go back again in this life. As for where she is now, I've already placed her in a safe place that she likes. You can look for me first when you return to the country after your mission is over. Thank you. Qing Xuemei shot a grateful look at Tan Xiao before she turned around and chose a portal to enter. Kawako waited until Qing Xuemei's back completely disappeared before she spoke in a low voice, Boss, I think we should kill her directly. Else, it'll be a great threat to both you and me if she divulges our relationship. I know a bit about her character. Tan Xiao shook his head. Even if she can't be used by me, she won't break her promise. Besides, although she's very strong, the most important person in her heart has already become one of us. Her younger sister? Asked Kawako. That's right, her younger sister. Tan Xiao nodded. Her younger sister's life is more important than her own, so you can rest assured. If she returns to Japan after leaving the vestige, help her as long as she doesn't pose too much of a threat to you, no matter what kind of mission she's carrying out. All right. Kawako readily agreed. Tan Xiao didn't say anything else. Since he had chosen the Star Devourer insect, he directly came to the 7th portal on the left and gently pressed the button on the door, causing it to open directly. As Tan Xiao and Kawako entered, they passed through the blue corridor that was like a surging tide and arrived in front of a spacious hall. Whoosh, a hazy light shadow instantly whipped over. The speed of the light shadow was so fast that even Tan Xiao didn't have time to dodge it. He hastily sent Kawako flying with a backhand palm, but the light shadow whipped his chest. A flame exploded on Tan Xiao's chest, sending him flying upside down while spraying blood. Boss, Kawako's complexion changed. She only felt a bit of pain from being sent flying by Tan Xiao, but she didn't suffer any injury. The moment her feet landed on the ground, she found that Tan Xiao was flying toward her. Almost without hesitation, she reached out and hugged Tan Xiao in her arms. Her footsteps flickered as she quickly retreated more than 10 meters away. Cough, cough, Tan Xiao coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood while being held in Kawako's arms. It was just a single blow, but it had already caused his internal organs to feel like they were on fire. The burning sensation was mixed with intense pain. Had it not been for his strong physique, that blow would have likely split him into 2 halves. Inside the hall, there was a lush green vine swaying its body with dozens of vines bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws like the tentacles of an octopus. Its entire body was blooming with a faint blue radiance, making it look particularly beautiful. It was one of those vines that attacked Tan Xiao just now. Be careful. That thing is very dangerous. Tan Xiao raised his hand to wipe off the blood on the corner of his mouth and stuffed a holy healing pill into his mouth. He then quickly circulated the heavenly art of cosmic genesis and said. Kawako was somewhat touched. What Tan Xiao did just now was to save her, something that warmed her heart more than the medicinal pills Tan Xiao gave her. However, she also instantly judged that the seemingly beautiful vines were, in fact, full of danger. Otherwise, her boss, Tang Xiao, would never have been unable to dodge and be directly injured. However, What made her feel relieved was that the vine didn't attack again after that blow. Perhaps its branches weren't that long. "What should we do, boss?" asked Kawako cautiously. Tan Xiao took a deep breath and quickly communicated with Star Devourer Insect while recuperating his internal injuries. Through the insect's introduction, he finally figured out the situation of the vine. This vine was known as the luminous vine in high-leveled civilizations. It could grow as long as there was light. After years of accumulated growth, it could even develop spiritual wisdom and was known as an intelligent plant-type life form. This was exactly the same as the plants on Earth that cultivated into monsters. However, the luminous vine would become more powerful as time went by. Despite its exceptionally slow growth speed, it had reached a terrifying limit after growing for more than 1,000,000 years. Even in the civilized world where it grew, there were only a few that were stronger than it. "Don't tell me it has no lifespan limit." Tan Xiao frowned and communicated with Star Devourer Insect. Star Devourer Insect replied, "The luminous vine has a lifespan limit and it's extremely harsh. According to your Earth's time, it will die if it doesn't get light energy in 45 days. Of course, the longer the lifespan of the luminous vine, the longer it will live. Given its lifespan, it can still live even if it doesn't get light energy for a few years. It's too powerful." Tan Xiao asked, "You mean the reason why it can live until now is that the energy in this vestige has been producing light energy for it?" "Yes." Star Devourer Insect replied. Tan Xiao frowned and asked, "How can I subdue this luminous vine if I want to control the main console?" "Or you can kill it. Intimidate." Star Devourer Insect's reply was very simple, "You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."